Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great and enjoying my previous videos. Thank you so much for the love and support. If you haven't checked them out yet, be sure to do so. Now, in today's video, I've got something that will absolutely blow your mind. What if Naruto time traveled to save Konoha? Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. Thanks for tuning in to another video. Remember to smash that like button. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy it. Here's the full summary. Uzumaki Naruto, 26 years old, and undoubtedly one of the few shinobi left alive after 10 long years of war, lay dying in the middle of a bloody battlefield. With Konoha missing and no one left to live for, he is sent back to the beginning, to the day of his younger self's graduation from the academy, in a last attempt to set things right. Chapter 1. Live again, a hoarse cough interrupted the heavy atmosphere as dying flames crackled silently on the corpse-strewn ground. A body stirred among the rubble and ashes as a bloody hand reached out to brush away the dirty strands of blonde hair. "He's dead, Kurama." The demon fox's voice was faint. When the reply came, it was equally somber. "He's as dead as can be, Kit. Even his body has been completely destroyed." The pause lasted several seconds, but we're not that far off either. Naruto let out a dry chuckle at this statement as he sat up, ignoring the blood dripping from his wounds and joining the dark crimson already staining the battlefield. "No doubt, I can practically feel the chakra leaking out of us. I can't believe how strong that bastard is." The fox didn't respond, and under normal circumstances, Naruto would have worried that the demon that had fused with him now would find it too tiring to even speak. The blonde turned his dull blue eyes to the broken figure lying just a few feet away, with a hole in its chest and limbs twisted into a horrible representation of a rag doll. Naruto let out a bitter scoff at this, too exhausted to even consider crying for his fallen best friend. He hadn't cried since his godfather had died. The irony here was painful. Once upon a time, he had been the one who had been driven this way, nearly killed by the same attack. The one Madara had used to slaughter Sasuke not even an hour ago. The Chidori hadn't even been aimed at the raven-haired General Anbu in the first place. His stupidly proud, incredibly protective, and brilliant best friend had gotten in the way at the last second. "Hi, Kit." Naruto blinked slowly, gathering his thoughts as the Kyuubi's soft, almost hesitant voice echoed in his mind. "What do you think you're doing?" The blonde frowned and crawled over to some rubble, leaning on a fallen slab of rock. He doubted he could stay standing any longer. "What does it look like?" "There's nothing left. Konoha is gone. Madara is gone. There's not much left to do except wait for me to leave too." A weak snort escaped him, somehow managing to convey the same amount of annoyance that the Kyuubi once expressed with all his strength. "That's a pathetic way to die, and I, for one, am not going to give up and wait until death takes us like a common dog." Naruto would have rolled his eyes if he had the energy to do it. "I don't think we have much of a choice, Kurama, unless you want me to commit traditional suicide." A growl chided him. "Think, brat. Last time I checked, you were a Fuinjutsu master. What were you working on after that perverted Sannin was killed?" Naruto blinked, his mind slowly regaining the memory of a complex seal he had started making after Jiraiya died. In his grief, he had locked himself in his apartment and gone through piles of papers and numerous ink bottles in a half-crazed attempt to reverse the event of the Sannin's death. It had been a stupid thing to do, and he had always known in the back of his mind that he would never succeed. The death of a man, no matter how precious he was to him, was not worth erasing the future of his other friends. He had set the project aside after a week and a furious beating from a subtly panicked Sasuke once the Uchiha had managed to break through his seals and into his apartment. But now what was there to lose? "I have no paper or ink," he thought stupidly as he cleared some uneven ground in front of him. "And it takes a lot of chakra. It might not even work. You have blood, Kit, and we still have enough chakra to do it if we put our all into it. I'll be damned if you don't at least try. We have nothing left to lose now." As he concentrated on the seal he had created years ago, it seemed to dispel the fog clouding his mind. Naruto had no doubt that it was mainly from one last adrenaline rush that forced him to concentrate, even as his life continued to slip like sand between his separated fingers. But his hand was steady as he drew the seal with his own blood. He only stopped when he began to draw the time frame of the jump. He had originally drawn it as if it were before Nagato's attack on Konoha, but if he was going to travel to the past, well, he could do it properly. Kurama, how many years do you think we can jump? A decade, maybe a little more, the fox replied after a pause to reflect. And it would be easier if you went back to a significant moment in time. Significant to you, I mean. Naruto sat still. The day of the Kyuubi attack was out of the question. That had been an important date, and he had played a big part in it, but he had also been a baby. There was no way he could go back that far to a time he couldn't even remember. The Uchiha massacre was also impossible. As much as he wanted to spare his best friend the loss of his family, he didn't know Sasuke back then, and the destruction of the Uchiha clan had never directly affected him. The best date to go back to would probably be the day he had been assigned to Team 7. It had been one of the happiest days of his life, and it had happened before everything went downhill. Good choice, Kurama approved. It will take every last drop of chakra we have, but that is a strong point in time. It will serve as an anchor for us. Naruto nodded absent-mindedly and quickly drew the correct symbols before finishing the rest of the seal. His hand fell back onto his lap, studying the seal critically for any mistakes. Kurama, where will I end up when I get back? In my apartment? On the streets of Konoha? The demon fox was silent for a long moment. The silence was contemplative. Most likely, you'll still have your own body, he finally admitted. The seal is so strong. It consists of chakra symbols and the user's own desire. You desire the ability to save your friends and family, as well as the village you call home. To do so, you would need the knowledge of this future and the skills you have acquired along the way. But to preserve this, you risk a paradox where there will be two Uzumaki Narutos running in the same timeline. That shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't happen at all. But it will happen. Naruto thought fiercely. I'm going to change everything. Yes, kid. I understand. Kurama replied with a surprising amount of patience. And your desire to prevent another war of this magnitude and the eventual death of everyone around you will be strong enough to keep the paradox at bay. But it will not last forever. Your ultimate goal is Uchiha Madara. The things you change along the way will help you achieve this goal, or will they simply speed up the inevitability of the same thing happening again? Time is as rigid as it is flexible. You might prove that you are strong enough to create a completely different timeline, or prove yourself too weak and end up with the same results. Time doesn't like being manipulated. But whatever result you get, it doesn't change the fact that you don't belong in that timeline. When you finish your work, for better or worse, you will simply cease to exist. As to where you will end up, I don't know. Naruto had remained almost numb throughout this entire explanation. Now he sighed, the movement causing a wave of agony to course through his already damaged lungs. I don't think I really care, he thought nonchalantly. I've lived long enough. The only reason I want to go back is because this could be a chance to give everyone a better future. But if I disappear, you'll disappear with me. I thought you wanted to live. A mocking taunt echoed in his mind as the Kyuubi shifted irritably. Only fools and cowards wish to live forever, and I am neither one nor both. I simply do not wish to die due to murder-suicide at the hands of Uchiha Madara. At this point, we have accomplished nothing more than ridding a broken world of a madman. When I finally leave this plane of existence to meet my maker, so to speak, I would like a little more than a murder in my name. And since those higher beings up there seem to be hopelessly in love with pathetically weak smokes like yourself, stopping the apocalypse from wiping out your pitiful species would be excellent material to throw back in their faces. A soft laugh heaved in Naruto's chest as the insults passed by him harmlessly. He was too used to the Kyuubi reiterating its stance on humans to care. You don't seem to like those superior beings very much, Naruto remarked. I don't. They placed 9 demons in a world where much weaker creatures roam and gave us unlimited power, only to condemn us to a life imprisoned in a human vessel because we brought destruction to those who sought to destroy us. There is no logic or intelligence in their decision. Surely, once I die, they will try to condemn me for said destruction. A dark smile curved the fox's mouth. But with this, I will be ready to face them. Naruto simply shook his head. He had never asked Kurama about any of the higher beings on high, simply because he had no interest in them. As far as he was concerned, The respectability of any judgment made of him when the time came was irrelevant. Very well, you are ready. Immediately, the demon fox calmed down, and the Kyuubi's red chakra rose to the surface along with his own. Naruto concentrated on the seal, with one hand pressing down on it as he focused on that fateful spring day 14 years ago when he had finally become a genin. Chakra flared around him, and the seal ignited beneath his hand. Gritting his teeth, he forced as much chakra as he could into the seal, ignoring the immediate warning bells telling him he was at his limit. This technique would take everything he had. Around him, the world exploded into a white landscape. The air trembled with energy, and an invisible force seemed to close in around him. Naruto only had a moment to distantly wonder if he would end up arrested and in a prison cell before the day was out. And then, with a deafening roar echoing in his ears, a roar that Naruto instinctively knew was the passage of time, darkness enveloped him, and he knew no more. XX Kit, 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 wake up, you lazy little dwarf. Pathetic excuse for a midday snack. Wake up already. Blue eyes flew open, and Naruto shot up, almost hitting his head on a low branch. With a groan under his breath, the blonde's hands reached up to grab his head as a jackhammer activated inside his skull. Underscores for you, stupid fox. I'm awake. What do you want? Naruto snorted and could almost see Kurama stretching smugly in his mind. We're back, Kit. I thought you wanted to leave. You've been unconscious for 3 hours. I was getting bored. Naruto would have shot something derogatory at the demon if it hadn't been for the fact that he was surprised by the realization that he was back. Because he knew this forest. He knew it like the back of his hand. He was at the edge of the forest of death, in the shade of one of the trees, and from his position, he could see the rest of Konoha, real and full of life, spread out before him. Kurama, we did it. Another snort of affectionate amusement sounded in his mind. Yes, Kit, that's what I said. And it seems that your wounds have disappeared. You have the scars to prove it, of course. Not to mention that your clothes are lousy, but your chakra reserves are almost back to normal, and I feel better than I have in a long time. Naruto couldn't help the small smile that played on his lips as he staggered to his feet, absent-mindedly tugging at the torn clothes that hung from his thin frame. He hadn't felt happy in a long time, and it had been even longer since he had openly shown it. But this could be everything he had ever wanted, and the best part was that his younger self could grow up, rise through the ranks, and become Hokage without half the suffering he had gone through. This time, Uzumaki Naruto would have his friends around him, supporting him, and there would be no war to take away the millions of lives that had been lost in that other timeline. What will you do first? Naruto blinked, frowning thoughtfully as his eyes dipped into his village. The old man, at least. One person will have to know who I am, and I still have Bachan's necklace to show him. It's reasonable. I'll be able to convince him. The fox made a sound. Okay then, go. I'm going to sleep. Try not to get killed between here and Hokage Tower. If anyone could, it would be you. Naruto rolled his eyes before performing a hinge. His blonde hair faded to a normal brown, his blue eyes quickly turned brown as well, and his clothes matched a common civilian. His hinge was also a few inches shorter, but his figure was the same overall, slim build. He looked harmless and nondescript. Yet, Naruto hurried through the streets of Konoha without delay as he rushed towards the Hokage Tower. He couldn't enter like everyone else since he had no identification, but his gaze went to the open window of the Hokage's office. His eyes quickly located the small squad of ANBU guards. At that moment, he casually turned left, putting himself parallel to his destination, even as he disappeared from the ANBU guard's line of sight. Then, with a quick half-step back towards the tower, Naruto leapt from the ground and quickly walked past the guards. He stepped through the open window before stopping in front of a shocked Sarutobi Hiruzen. It was so easy it would have been funny if Naruto didn't know that this also meant that if it had been an enemy, the third Hokage would have died before anyone could react. Speaking of reaction, Naruto already had his arms in the air in the universal sign of surrender as the ANBU ran at him with kunai extended and pointed at him. He jumped up and stood up, his eyes narrowed as he looked at him, his body tense as his gaze sharpened, sizing up the intruder. Hokage-sama, Naruto began formally. I do not wish to harm you, but I have something very important to tell you. If you will allow me to show you something, I would ask that you consider granting me a private audience with you." The Sandame stared at the brown-haired man, observing the now obvious hinge. This man was obviously a ninja. He had entered his office before any of his ANBU could react, and then had stood still as his guards surrounded him. If he had intended to cause any real or immediate damage, this man could have already done so. Without saying a word, Sarutobi nodded briefly, keeping his eyes on the man as one of the ninja's hands slowly reached into a hidden pocket and pulled out a necklace. He jumped and stiffened immediately, recognizing the necklace instantly. "Where did you get that?" he asked as he walked around his desk, contemplating if the man would hand it over without a problem. The ninja with the necklace in hand held out the necklace without hesitation. "From a slug that's passing for a bad streak." Sarutobi's eyes widened at the analogy, and he studied the brown eyes for a moment longer. This man knew Tsunade, and while an enemy ninja could have just as easily obtained this information, he also knew that his former student would never give this necklace to a random shinobi. With a determined gesture, he turned to his ANBU guards. "Wait outside," he ordered, ignoring the silent protest that immediately erupted. "Go, I can take care of this." Reluctantly, the ANBU retreated, and once they left the office, he jumped and quickly activated the privacy seals set up around the room. He turned to the stranger and blinked in shock as the hinge fell, and a tall, slender blonde with piercing blue eyes stared at him with a disconcerting sort of affection, tilting his lips. "Minato," Sarutobi whispered, taking a shaky step back. The blonde sighed, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "Not exactly, old man. Try your son. I am Naruto." The Sandame quickly ordered his thoughts, settling into the present as he studied the man in front of him. Now that he took the time, he could see the differences between the Yondaime and Uzumaki Kushina. While the two had the same hair and eyes, this man, Naruto, was thinner and not as broad-shouldered as Minato. His jaw and facial structure were deceptively delicate, but also had the same strength Minato had possessed. And the slight smile that still curved the blonde's lips as the man waited patiently for him to finish his observations was all Kushina. Absent-mindedly, Sarutobi wondered if his laugh would be like Minato's. "If what you say is true," Sarutobi finally said cautiously, "then you must be from the future." Naruto nodded, and a slight hint of relief appeared on his face. "Yes, 14 years in the future, to be exact. Give or take a few months." "Here." The blonde hesitated before continuing. "Could you ask me some questions to be sure?" Sarutobi didn't think anyone could pull off this kind of hinge, and not many people knew that Minato and Kushina had a son, not to mention the whisker marks on the blonde's face and the distinctive chakra he could now sense within the younger man. These were clear clues, but a few questions about identity couldn't hurt either. "Who were your parents again?" That slight smile briefly appeared, and Saruto frowned inwardly at the insinuation. Naruto had always been optimistic and always had a smile ready for anything. That his expressions had faded to a mere shadow of what they once were, still are now, was a clear indication that things in the future had not turned out well. "Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina," Naruto replied. "Your godfather and godmother." This time, a shadow of pain and deep sadness darkened the cerulean eyes before they, too, disappeared. Sarutobi and Tsunade jumped and blinked in surprise. "He lets you call him Ria?" Naruto blinked. "Well, I call him Ero-Senin too, but after I did it a few times in front of those women, he told me I could call him Ria instead, at least when I was in front of other people." The blonde scoffed a little. "There's nothing wrong with Ria. It's not perverted or degrading or anything. It's just a nickname. If he hadn't told me he didn't let anyone else call him that, I would have completely ignored him." He jumped up and chuckled, finally relaxing completely. "I used to call him that, but it changed to his full name after he turned 15. He thought the name sounded too girly, and I think Tsunade somehow made fun of him enough when they were younger that Jiraiya now has the irrational impression that the name is a condescending insult to his sense of self, or something along those lines." He paused before continuing quietly. "You two must have been very close." The cerulean gaze darkened once more as the blonde nodded briefly. "Yes," Sarutobi nodded and didn't make any other comment on the matter. Instead, he just stared at the torn clothes the man was wearing. "Very well. I think I know who you are now. Why have you come back? Things really are that bad in the future. Naruto closed his eyes briefly before nodding. Konoha is gone, he said simply as he walked out and frowned at the thought of the village being razed to the ground. The civilians and shinobi are all dead. I was the last one. For a moment, Sarutobi couldn't breathe as he tried to imagine a world where Konoha no longer existed. He looked out the window at the rest of the village before looking back at the blonde. He jumped and realized that it wasn't just the inner strength that made him so like Minato, because Kushina had had that strength too. It was Naruto's bearing that reminded him of Konoha's yellow flash. This man standing before him, with his relaxed but ready body, had the air of a Kage, a powerful one. The kind of power that Sarutobi had only seen Minato exude. Then you became Hokage? Sarutobi couldn't help but ask. Naruto bowed his head in affirmation. Rokudaime Hokage. The anguished gaze ran over his face once again. The blonde's face was burning. Just in time to see my village burn. He jumped and almost winced at the overwhelming pain in the younger man's voice. It was always harder on the Kage when the lives of their people were lost. After all, the entire village was their responsibility. I came back to change it, Naruto said suddenly, looking almost anxious. Sarutobi was relieved when he caught a glimpse of the Naruto he knew at that moment. The Sandaime nodded vigorously and turned to take a step back behind his desk. I suppose if there's no academy, we'll have to find a way around it. But now, I can assume nothing drastic will happen in the immediate future. Naruto frowned in confusion, but nodded anyway. Everything will start to go downhill during the next Chunin exams. Before then, as long as I keep an eye on things and take out some spies, things should be fine. Okay, Sarutobi jumped up and pulled out a list of empty apartments, sending a reassuring look as Naruto looked at him, puzzled by his assessment. If nothing happens soon, I'd like you to settle in. You look like you're about to collapse. Naruto blinked before looking down at himself. Oh, I just finished fighting with Kurama. He jumped up and held up a hand to stop the young man's explanation. Not now, Naruto, Sarutobi chided him softly. No doubt if you continue, I'll have a lot of questions for you, and we'll be here for a few more hours. Right now, you need to rest. Not to mention, we still have to set up a fund for you. Naruto seemed to consider this for a moment before nodding silently in agreement. Very well. While I'm here, I'm going to have to use a different name. Do you have one in mind? Karui, Naruto said after thinking for a moment. That's the name I used when I infiltrated Iwagakure. Sarutobi opened his mouth to ask before shaking his head regretfully. Questions followed. But who knew Naruto had the potential to be a spy? Okay, he continued. I will write up the necessary documents and tell anyone who asks that you've been on a mission for me for the past 8 years. We can use the subject line and Hokage. You know what that is, right? Okay. We can use that and say you've been in Kumo to make sure they don't try anything again. They won't try anything again, right? Naruto shook his head. Anyway, they won't steal the Byakugan again, but the council will want proof. Sarutobi frowned. Indeed. Is there any knowledge of the future you can use here? Naruto remained silent, staring out the window and absent-mindedly looking at the sky. How long can you hold off the council before they start asking questions? Sarutobi shrugged. As long as you keep a low profile, they won't find out too quickly. But even if they do, I can hold them off for several days, maybe a week. Naruto nodded. Okay, give me 2 days. I can get to Kumo and back in that time, and I'll bring back the Byakugan and Hisashi's body. The bastards preserved it, so I'll still be able to present a real body. Sarutobi had been anything but a box, and it would have been left open. They wouldn't keep it properly guarded. Naruto shrugged. I can make him an old man. I'm above ANBU level, plus I've done this before. I'll leave a clone of the body, so they won't notice while the Hyuga clan is flaunting it around the streets of Kumo. Everyone should be fine. The Sandaime considered this for a few seconds before nodding in agreement. It's fine. I'll call a council meeting when you get back. You'll leave tomorrow. The blonde nodded. I'll be back in 5 days. Good. Now, as for your appearance, the village will be furious if they see you. Well, at first glance, and maybe even the second and third, you look a lot like Minato. Naruto frowned thoughtfully before performing some hand seals. His long golden locks immediately washed away, leaving a crimson fire in their wake. The new redhead, Sarutobi, jumped, smiled, and nodded in approval. Although there were still traces of Minato and Kushina in the former blonde's features, anyone would dismiss it as a coincidence if they noticed it. They couldn't detect it either. Let's go, then, to the place where you'll stay. I will take the apartment next door to my younger counterpart. He jumped and blinked. How did you do that? Oh, right. You're sure a lot this way. I'll be able to keep an eye on him and keep him company sometimes. He'll get lonely. The Sandaime frowned sadly, but didn't say anything. He had a feeling this Naruto wouldn't appreciate it. Very well, just show these papers to the landlady, and she'll give you the keys. He smiled warmly at the redhead. This Naruto exuded a quiet strength and seemed comfortable in his own skin. He had grown. Okay, get some rest, Naruto. Naruto gave that slight half-smile again, before putting Tsunade's necklace away and pulling out a small paper seal, holding it out to Sarutobi. The Sandaime blinked at him. He took the seal and noticed the old design. Simply press it against any piece of clothing you wear, and it will automatically imprint itself onto the material, Naruto explained quietly. If you're ever in trouble, sending even a drop of your chakra into the seal will automatically inform me of your position, and I'll be able to get to your location in an instant. Sarutobi examined the seal curiously before pressing it against the inner collar of his lace cloak. A flash of chakra, and the ink on the paper dissolved, reappearing on the cloak. What are you doing? Sarutobi asked. Naruto's smile held a slight hint of mischief, and Sarutobi found himself hard-pressed not to smile back at such familiarity. Try it. He reached out his hand, and Sarutobi saw a small stream of chakra hit the seal. Then, almost taking a step back, Naruto appeared at his side. A soft crackle of dry lightning was his only warning. With very salty eyes, Sarutobi stared between the place where the redhead had been and the place where he was now standing. Go! Naruto was already shaking his head. One of mine actually, although it's based on the Hiraishin, I call it Raijin no Jutsu. The same concept, but not as good as my father's, I guess. The rare enemies see it coming. The seal helps me fix the location, but if I have a mental image of where I'm going in my head when I perform the jutsu, I can get there just as easily. Sarutobi was speechless for a moment. Several seconds passed. Even though he knew this Naruto was essentially an adult version of the 12-year-old Naruto, it was still hard to relate the two. The thought that Naruto would one day grow up to create his own jutsus made a hum of pride run through Sarutobi. This is amazing. The younger man seemed to warm up a bit, his blue eyes flashing with momentary pride at the compliment. Thanks, old man. Sarutobi nodded before gesturing for the redhead to leave. Okay, go. We'll deal with everything else later. Get some sleep. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a wallet, deactivating the seal with a wave of his hand before offering him several bills. Buy some clothes and food. That should be enough for a month, and then you can start doing missions to earn your own money. Naruto looked at the bills before accepting them with a nod of thanks. I'll pay you back, old man. Sarutobi would have refused if he hadn't been sure that Naruto would be stubborn about it. So he simply nodded in acknowledgement, deactivating the privacy seals as Naruto, now Karui, gave a simple salute before jumping out the window and disappearing over the rooftops in a matter of seconds. Mr. Hokage jumped down and absent-mindedly glanced at his bodyguards as they made their way back to the office. He waved a hand in disdain as he sat back down and began working on a new stack of papers. One of my spies had to leave suddenly, so I wasn't expecting him, he muttered to himself. I sent him away a long time ago, and I haven't seen him since. I was under a genjutsu, and it took me a moment to realize who it was. Now I better get started on this. I swear, the paperwork increases every time I turn around. The ANBU on duty seemed to accept this easily enough, relaxing and returning to the shadows. Some were almost palpably amused by Sarutobi's complaints. But as he began scanning a request for new medical equipment for the hospital, he jumped up and reflected on the few things he had learned in the past 20 minutes. Dark times are coming, he thought, ones that lurk in the shadows. But perhaps, with the help of the time traveler, a man who seems both familiar and strange, we can overcome them. At that moment, somehow, they could do it. They would have to. Lightning Step Jutsu, first chapter finished. Review it and tell me if it has the ingredients to make a good story and if I should continue with it," he said, falling silent. His eyes averted as he seemed to realize he was taking too much interest in something unrelated to her training. Sakura quickly picked up on her crush's line of thought. She gave off the same feeling. She tried to explain. "I mean, when Haruki-san did it before, the action seemed really familiar to me, but I didn't make the connection until I saw you do it now. You always rub your head like that." Naruto frowned, but brushed aside any suspicion pretty easily. "Well, I've never met him before, but I think he's nice. I don't think he was faking anything either. I mean, even Sasuke is afraid of him." He listened without pretending he didn't. Sasuke shuddered before putting his crib away and turning in the direction of his house. Whatever. I'm leaving. Do us all a favor and don't tie yourself to any more tree trunks." And so, everything went back to normal as Sakura ran after the raven-haired genin, asking him out on a date with a blush growing on her face. Naruto frowned and went his own way, deciding to head to Irika's apartment first to tell the man the good news. Still hiding in the shadows of a nearby tree, Kakashi ran a distracted hand through his hair. "Interesting. Someone in Konoha knows about my lateness and, more importantly, my exams, someone who has been out of Konoha for the past 8 years. The last time I checked, I hadn't been a sensei 8 years ago." He stopped to consider this. Surely, the Sandaime would be willing to tell him something about this Haruki. Checking the position of the sun and considering himself 3 hours late enough to report to Hokage, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. "Late Kakashi, I don't even know why I bother anymore," Kakashi muttered, smiling at Hokage before pulling out his new Ica Paradise book. Around him, several of the other Jounin twitched, and Kurenai looked ready to knock him down. Hokage simply sighed and waved a hand dismissively. "Very well. Now that we're all finally here, tell me if your team's passed or not." "Team 1 pass. Team 2 pass. Team 3 fail. Team 4 pass. Team 5 fail. Team 6 fail. Team 7 pass." A deathly silence greeted this announcement as all the Jounin present turned to look doubtfully at the copy ninja. Kakashi looked up from his book, scanning the room with a slight smile visible behind his mask. Hokage just shook his head, a small smile on his lips as he wrote down the answer. "I expected nothing less," Hokage said. Haruki had given no indication that his younger counterpart would fail, but it's still shocking that Kakashi actually moved on to a team. Team assignments: Team 8 fail. Team 9 fail. Team 10 pass. Sarutobi nodded in approval. The new batch of genin looks promising. "Very well. The missions for their teams will begin tomorrow. You may leave." The Jounin trooped out of the office, some casting curious glances at Kakashi, while the genin made no move to leave. Kakashi began, "Sarutobi-sama, can I help you with something?" Kakashi straightened up, put his book away, and made sure the office door was closed before turning back to the Hokage. "I came across something interesting today. A man named Haruki. I only know his first name. My students were talking about him. A Jounin who just came back from an 8-year mission. He knows how my tests work." Sarutobi suppressed the urge to show his amusement, carefully keeping his face neutral as he studied the curiosity glinting in Kakashi's visible eye. "You must mean Haruki. He returned yesterday from an infiltration mission. He's good at what he does. Getting information on you wouldn't be too hard for him." Kakashi frowned but added bluntly, "I've never heard of him." Sarutobi chuckled. 8 years ago, it was Anbyu Kakashi, and I didn't exactly announce his mission in the village. He's a quiet man. You may not have noticed." Kakashi felt again. "Do you know where he is now?" "Over there," Sarutobi said vaguely. "I've given him a vacation. He deserves it. Do you think you'll question him yourself?" Kakashi had the decency to look embarrassed. "I'm just curious, Hokage-sama. My kids seem to be very attracted to him. Plus, if he's a Jounin, I'd like to meet him." Sarutobi chuckled. "Look for the redhead. You can't miss him when he gets back, of course." Kakashi nodded in thanks, sketching a quick salute before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Sarutobi looked disapprovingly at the pile of foliage now in his office. Seriously, couldn't they just use the door? It's there for a reason. Haruki's mission, a figure slipped unseen through the wall surrounding the shrine, passing by the entrance guards. His red hair was carefully tied back as the black-clad ninja hurried into the interior of the shrine, pausing only long enough to deactivate the simple seals placed around the small building that housed Yugao and Sasori's body. For someone as hated as the brother of the head of the Yuga clan, the man really did get a nice resting place. Aruki guessed that this had more to do with the fact that they simply wanted to make do with having Sasori's body while ignoring the fact that they hadn't been able to get their hands on Yugao. Either way, while the shrine was fairly simple, the place was also built quite elegantly. Trees were planted on either side of the shrine, with statues lined up on either side of the path. The red paint that colored the roof was also nicely maintained, and the grass surrounding the shrine was well kept. There were no lit torches within the shrine, which made Aruki's job much easier. As he reached the dust-covered coffin in which Sasori had been placed, Aruki frowned at the somewhat complex seal on the lid. It was not the same seal he had seen in his previous life. The seal had been placed on the coffin to prevent the corpse from decomposing, a fairly simple seal. This one, however, was different. Aruki moved closer and studied the symbols that made up the seal. When he recovered Sasori's body with Niji in the other timeline, he was 19 years old, 7 years later in this current timeline. Why would the seal on a corpse be different between the two eras? Suddenly, his eyes focused on the center of the seal, a swirl of symbols that defined suspended life. Suspended life? The only reason he would be there with a mental curse. Aruki silently pulled out a piece of paper, ink, and a brush. He really hoped this wasn't what he thought. He had worked with seals of suspended life before, having come across them when checking the container of Sasori's heart. He knew how to counter it. A few minutes later, he placed the security seal on top of the coffin. A brief flash of chakra illuminated the lid of the coffin before the ink on both seals silently disappeared. Aruki lifted the lid of the coffin carefully, setting it aside before taking a deep breath and looking inside. He stared at it. It was official. Someone up there seriously hated him. Unfazed, he watched the gentle rise and fall of Yugao and Sasori's chest as his mind raced at this new turn of events. The man had clearly been dead when he and Niji had gone to find the body. Clearly, that meant that Kumo or someone else had killed the man sometime before Aruki turned 19. He leaned closer and noticed the familiar thin scar that marked the man's throat, a cut calculated to murder prisoners. They had obviously planned to kill him. Someone had figured out what Yugao's curse seal would do once the man was dead. Someone else had managed to save him and then preserve Sasori until they could figure out how to break the curse seal. Naruto scoffed. He had realized that when he turned 16. Apparently, one had a lot of free time when sneaking into enemy countries. He had spent an entire year in Iwagakure and had managed to decipher both the caged bird seal and Orochimaru's curse seal. Not bad for a 15-year-old. But at that moment, none of those thoughts helped. On the one hand, if he didn't get Yugao and Sasori's body back, he would have a guilty conscience for not having taken the poor man out while he was still alive. The Yuga clan would be outraged if they ever found out. Niji would probably want his head on a silver platter if the same thing happened, and he would have no proof of his spying on Kumo for the council. And it was a big but, nothing unexpected would happen in this timeline if he stuck to his plan and got a dead Yugao and Sasori back, not one alive. On the other hand, if he got Yugao's body back and Sasori, he would be free of guilt, and Kami knew how much guilt he already had on his shoulders. He didn't need any more. The Yuga clan would be in his debt forever. One day, Niji would have his father back, and he would have enough proof for the council. And there were a lot of buts this time, the Yuga clan would never keep quiet about something like this. He had no idea how the Sandaime wanted to play this out with the core. He would probably get an old enemy back from Kumo before the week was out. Another war would begin. His purpose to return would become null and void, and the timeline would be completely screwed. It would be amazing the difference there could be between a dead man and a living one if he didn't have him right now in front of his eyes, literally. Kami didn't even get paid for this. Aruki grimaced. He closed his eyes briefly and pinched the bridge of his nose as he debated what his next action would be, given his two options. The logical one would be the first. There was a lot less that could go wrong. His mind was telling him option 1, but his heart was telling him option 2. He took a deep breath, staring at the comatose man. Yugao again. Niji had once told him a little about his father during one of the rare pauses in the war when it had only been the two of them hiding in one of the tailed beast tents set up on the battlefield. Niji had told him how his father had been quite bitter with the main house because of the caged bird seal, but more. Later, he found out from Yashiro that while he had been angry about this, his father had also taken Yashiro's place during the matter, and Yugao had done so of his own free will, having forcibly prevented Yashiro from rejecting his decision. For Naruto, Yugao Yashiro seemed like a good man, and Naruto knew all about how angry one could get for having a seal placed on oneself without consent. Aruki sighed and straightened up, quickly pulling out another life suspension seal and opening the body clone he had brought to replace Sasori. In the end, he was just buying time. He had known from the moment he realized the man was still alive that he wouldn't leave without the father of his former future second-in-command. Plus, he doubted the Kumo shinobi would regularly come to check on someone the rest of the world thought was dead. With a little chakra manipulation, the body clone was now an exact replica of Yugao and Sasori, right down to the scar across his throat, with the exception of the part without breathing softly. Aruki lifted Sasori from the coffin with minimal difficulty, making sure the simple kimono he was wearing didn't get caught on anything, and carefully placed the man on the ground against a nearby pillar. While the seal had kept the man alive without food or water, seals like that didn't work forever either, and the health of the receiver of the seal would diminish over time. Sasori was already too thin. From there, the redhead quickly replaced Sasori with the clone of the body, closed the coffin again, and activated the new life suspension seal. The body inside the coffin would still be lifeless, as it had never been alive in the first place, but the seal would seem to be working, at least. Cleaning any evidence of his presence from the shrine and wiping away the few fingerprints he had imprinted on the coffin, Aruki scanned the room one last time before picking up the Yuga clan head's brother and leaving the shrine. Once again, leaving the shrine was as easy as entering, even with an extra load. Stopping once he reached the mountain pass that would eventually take him back to Konoha, Aruki paused to consider his options. He couldn't seal the man in a scroll, and he really didn't want to use his space-time ninjutsu on a physically frail man lying on his back. Aruki frowned. This really ruined his plans. He had planned to backtrack to the gates of Konoha to shorten the travel time and return to the village in the promised few days. But now, with little more than a day to go, "Kurama, you're awake," he muttered. Silence, and then a low, moaning growl echoed in his mind as the fox yawned. "What do you want, Kit?" "I need a ride back to Konoha. I have an unexpected passenger." Aruki felt the Kyuubi move in his mind. That human isn't supposed to be dead. The redhead sighed sadly. "I feel like an idiot for thinking that, but things would be a lot simpler if that were the case." The demon fox snorted, and then a bright red flash briefly shone next to Aruki. Kurama appeared at his side, stretching languidly as he waved his 9 tails behind him. "Hop on, Kit," the Kyuubi said, turning an intelligent violet eye towards Aruki. "I'll get you home on time." Naruto smiled gratefully before climbing on, placing Sasori in front of him to make sure the man didn't fall. Riding Kurama was a lot like flying through a storm, after all. Kakashi found himself with a small tick in one eye as his Genin team managed to find Tora once again, breaking their own record from 3 days prior. He had no idea what had happened to his team or the fan, the Avenger, but since the Genin test, the 3 seemed to have clicked. Kakashi couldn't be happier that his students were now working well together, better than he could have expected. However, changes like the ones he had observed didn't happen without reason. While Naruto and Sasuke were still arguing, and Sakura was still prone to violence toward the hyperactive blonde, the 3 seemed content enough to put aside their differences, or at least work through them, to complete all the rank missions Kakashi had thrown at them. Whatever the mysterious Aruki had told them before the day of the Genin test seemed to have stuck with them. Even Sasuke, the Avenger and loner of the group, appeared to have seriously considered what they had heard. But it wasn't just the fact that another Jounin had managed to inspire them to work together that upset Kakashi. What bothered him most was that he couldn't find the man. He was a former AMBU captain, for the love of Kami. How hard could it be to find a red-haired Jounin in his own village? Worst of all, he had even returned to the Sandaime to ask about the redhead's whereabouts, only to be told that what Aruki did in his free time was his own business, and Sarutobi wasn't going to drag the man back to work just because Kakashi was dying of curiosity and paranoia in equal parts. For the rest of his life, Kakashi would swear blindly that his Hokage had been silently laughing at him the whole time. With a hidden grimace, as Naruto leapt toward him, Tora in his somewhat scratched hands, and Sakura and Sasuke approaching from behind, Kakashi almost sighed and nodded. "Okay, good job, Naruto. Let Sakura and Sasuke take the cat back to the daimyo's wife." Before any of them could ask why, the copy ninja quickly blurted out a half-lie. "You returned the cat last time. I want Sakura and Sasuke to do it this time. Make sure you're polite, no matter what. Understand?" Sakura nodded her head politely, happy to spend more time with Sasuke, and took Tora from Naruto. Sasuke, however, gave her a questioning look before glancing at Naruto with speculative eyes, even as he turned away. That was another difference. Whatever a rookie had said, Sasuke now seemed to study his two teammates more seriously. On several occasions, he had already made use of Naruto's Kage Bunshin. The Uchiha had half-suggested, half-ordered Naruto to send his clones out to scout the terrain when Kakashi had set up an obstacle course for them. He then had Naruto disperse them and tell the team what traps the Jounin had managed to set. He had also gotten Sakura, with her knowledge of theory and facts, to teach Naruto whenever the blonde couldn't understand something Kakashi was teaching them. Sometimes, even Sasuke would listen, his face carefully blank and turned away, but with a telltale glint of concentration in his eyes. The Uchiha prodigy was cataloging the strengths and weaknesses of his team and taking advantage of them. It wasn't just Sasuke. Sakura and Naruto had changed a bit too. Sakura, although obviously still in love with Sasuke, seemed more able to focus now that the Uchiha wasn't completely ignoring the pink-haired Kunoichi. She was now also eating more, despite the file Kakashi had received from the Hokage mentioning that the girl was following a diet that tended to be unhealthy. On top of that, the regular and civilized interaction she had with Naruto when Sasuke asked her to explain something to the blonde seemed to have gained her some tolerance toward Naruto as well. Naruto, on the other hand, was still just as cheerful, but the confidence that had seemed somewhat forced when Kakashi had first met him on the roof now seemed more genuine. It was noticeable in the way the blonde walked through the streets while the civilians looked at him with disdain and whispered behind his back. Sakura and Sasuke had noticed this and always made sure the blonde walked between them. Although Kakashi wasn't sure if this was done subconsciously or not, Naruto, in turn, held his head a little higher, and his smiles were a little more real. The sunny smile sometimes caused a slight ache in Kakashi's chest for reasons he wasn't sure of, though that was slowly fading and being replaced by fondness for his bright-haired student. Naruto was also surprisingly kind when he couldn't do something that his teammates could, as Kakashi had seen during the few obstacle courses he had set up. One day, even Sasuke would attempt something himself, and only turn to Naruto or Sakura when he got frustrated trying to do something he obviously couldn't do without help. Naruto instinctively trusted his teammates to take care of themselves in the areas they were good at and back them up when they couldn't. Kakashi could see the beginnings of what could be an amazing team within a decade. However, they were still rough. They were still kids and far from skilled enough to carry out real missions outside the village, no matter how well they worked together. Not to mention, they still fought too much, though Kakashi couldn't see that ever going away. But if he squinted and looked hard enough, maybe turning his head to the left a little and cocking it at just the right angle under the sun, by mid-afternoon, he could make out what they might eventually become. While Sakura was the voice of reason to Naruto and Sasuke's left, the shadow guard to the right of the blonde Jinchuriki, Naruto would be their bright, shining center. Suddenly, in the rare, mesmerizing moments when Kakashi could see all of this, Naruto's dream of becoming Hokage didn't seem so impossible anymore. Of course, then Naruto would do something stupid. Sakura would slap him upside the head, and Sasuke would roll his eyes and sigh in disdain at being trapped in Team 7. Kakashi would blink and wonder if he had gone temporarily insane. But all these changes in less than a week, had kept Kakashi's curiosity piqued. And though he usually had his book in front of him most of the time, he was watching his team, which brought him back to the fact that he still couldn't find the man responsible. Kakashi had even stopped by Naruto's apartment building at odd times, though only in passing, since waiting for the man outside his apartment was almost creepy, even for him. The copy ninja had drawn the line at outright stalking. But as the Sandaime wasn't willing to help him, and his fellow Jounin were worse than useless, none of them seemed to know Kama or Rookie. Kakashi was now crouching down to instruct his blonde student. Surely Naruto, who lived next door to the man, could lend a hand in some part of his life that Kakashi was adept at ignoring, as he had more than his fair share of strange quirks. A voice was cheerfully informing him that his supposed curiosity was quickly turning into an unhealthy obsession and that perhaps he should head to the hospital for a mental checkup. Like everything else that voice told him, Kakashi ignored it. Naruto. Kakashi started nonchalantly. Do you know where Kazanin is? He wasn't sure how old the red-headed Jounin was, but Sarutobi talked about a rookie the same way he talked to Kakashi, so the copy ninja assumed they were at least the same age. Somewhere I'm guessing. Aruki-san is pretty quiet, so he probably likes spending some time alone. Naruto's blue eyes blinked innocently as the blonde replied, and Kakashi was instantly suspicious. On the one hand, he had seen the Hokage himself bend like wet paper when Naruto looked at him with those eyes. On the other hand, Naruto had said almost exactly the same thing that the Hokage had said to him on more than one occasion. Seriously, Kakashi crossed his arms. He supposed it wasn't fair to seem intimidating, but it wasn't like it actually worked. His three genin seemed immune to his stance after that first day, but Naruto just smiled at him. A gleam of excitement appeared in his eyes as he almost bounced off the ground. You can stop by our apartment building tonight. You'll probably see him then. I can introduce you. Kakashi blinked. This wasn't what he expected. Naruto was giving him a time when the redhead would be present. Maybe he should have asked the blonde sooner. Okay. Kakashi quickly smiled with his eyes at his student and pulled out his book to hide his sudden confusion. He was sure he was missing something. I'll stop by around 8, okay? Naruto nodded before waving goodbye and running off in the direction of his favorite ramen stand. Kakashi sighed and almost slapped himself with his book. He really felt like he was completely out of touch. But he wanted to meet that Kama Rookie. He wanted to know what kind of man could influence a group of children so much with just a few words. Thanks for bringing me Kurama. I can take care of everything from here. The demon fox nodded absent-mindedly, observing the village visible behind a thick grove of trees. I don't see it, Kurama finally decided. I have no idea what you see in that village. Humans are emotional creatures, all of you. With that, the fox disappeared with a flick of its tail, reappearing in Aruki's mindscape and quickly settling in for another nap. Aruki snorted in amusement, but paid no further attention to the fox. A demon, after all, didn't see things the same way humans did. Adjusting his grip on Yuga and Sussy, Aruki quickly summoned a small yellow fox without using seals. Go to Salad-sama, he ordered. Tell him I'm done, but some complications have arisen, and I need a private meeting. Instruct him to use the seal once his office is clear. The vixen bowed her head in acknowledgement before stalking off toward the village. A few minutes later, Aruki felt a slight tug on her mind and headed without hesitation toward the Sandaime's location, tightening her grip on Issei. A shorter distance was better when traveling with an unconscious person in tow. Aruki appeared in the office and looked up, coming face to face with a frozen Sarutobi, who stared at the man Aruki was carrying in his arms with deceptive calmness. Several seconds passed, and the redhead waited patiently for the Sandaime to compose himself. Finally, Sarutobi managed to speak weakly. Aruki. Aruki snorted, looked around, and walked to the sofa in the side office to lay Issei down. Yeah, man. Subtlety, he muttered sarcastically. Sarutobi sighed and approached to stand next to him. It really is Yuga and Sussy, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. Yes, Aruki replied, removing the scarf that had obscured his hair. It scared me a lot, too. In my time, Niji and I went to look for him, and he was practically dead. But I was 19 at the time. The seal from that time was also different. It was just a body ecstasy seal. The seal I found yesterday was a life suspension seal, and you managed to break it. A note of amazement rang out in the elder Hokage's voice. Aruki smiled slightly, feeling a surge of pride in her heart. I am a master of Fuinjutsu, old man. I'm better than Ria. Sarutobi chuckled and smiled warmly, a noticeable pride on his face. Naruto found himself giving her a small smile in return. This man's opinion had always been important to him, even after his death. So, what should we do now? Aruki cleared his throat and walked away. He wasn't very used to private emotional moments, and spending too much time in one made him uncomfortable. He pondered thoughtfully, ignoring the contact. Aruki's slightly embarrassed expression changed. Well, we'll have to notify the Yuga clan. You replaced Aizen with the clone, right? Aruki bowed his head, his arms crossed in front of him. I did. I also replaced the life support. As long as no one opens the coffin and examines it too closely, the change should go unnoticed. At least until one of those Kumo ninjas gets the idea that they might know how to get rid of the cage bird seal without killing the man, and King Cage allows it. Sarutobi gave him a speculative look. And you? Aruki smiled slightly. I can get rid of any seal, old man. The Sandame's eyes widened. Even Orochimaru's cursed seal? Aruki's face darkened. Especially Orochimaru's cursed seal. He saluted and stared at Sarutobi for a moment longer before shaking his head fondly. You've grown well, Aruki-kun. Aruki shrugged. The circumstances, old man. The circumstances and the need. The Hokage only felt understanding without asking. Well, we can't keep this a secret for long. As he only asked for Isan's body and then finally settled for the body of Isasen, there were no conditions for a prisoner. We could use that to our advantage, old man. Sarutobi nodded, showing concern for the desolation in the redhead's voice. Of course, we wouldn't need a legitimate way to get Isasen back to Konoha without alerting them to the fact that Konoha managed to send someone to Kumo for his body. Aruki absent-mindedly pulled his Jounin vest out of a scroll and put it on, his eyes closed, lost in thought as his mind flashed back to all those strategy sessions he and Shikamaru had participated in, suggesting tactic after tactic, developing them, perfecting them. Aruki rubbed the back of his head. Sorry, I have an idea. What if we say that the life suspension seal has weakened over time? The coffin was covered in dust, making it obvious that no one has opened it for a while. We could say that Isasen managed to escape because the seal's control over him faded enough for him to get out. I could go back to Kumo and blow the shrine up. I'll leave some evidence of a faded life suspension seal lying in the rubble before I return to Konoha. We could say Isasen blew the place up. I mean, a disoriented man waking up inside a box isn't ideal for anyone. He would try to get out and could claim temporary selective memory loss. The mountains and walking and no kuni are distinctive, and he would have noticed where he was. Not remembering almost anything, he would have immediately headed home. That could place him in Konoha without us having to lift a finger. Konoha finds out, the __, hits the fan, and Kumo has no room for denial this time. You said it yourself, a prisoner was not the one we made with Kumo. We will recover Isasen. Kumo will not be able to declare war on us, and we will have total control of the entire situation. This will also solve the problem between the council and me. In my time, it took a while to find out where he was hiding Isasen's body. 8 years in Kumo is enough time to find out, and enough for the power of a below-average seal to diminish enough for someone to break through. A deathly silence greeted him as Aruki finished, and the redhead blinked at the almost lifeless expression on Sarutobi's face. The man looked slightly dumbfounded and seemed to be trying to find the right words. Luckily, another voice interrupted him before Aruki began to worry at the surprise. I agree with this plan. The voice came from the couch. Both of them jumped, turning their heads to stare into the distinctive eyes of the Yuga, Isasen. His voice sounded hoarse from misuse, but was still firm as he looked directly at Aruki. Aruki froze and wondered how long he had been awake. The man had been silent. All ninjas were trained to go from unconscious to conscious without any visible signs. You should have ensured Aruki-san, right? Aruki tensed under Isasen's contemplative gaze. How long have you been awake? He asked stiffly. Long enough to deduce that you at least know a version of my son old enough to infiltrate Kumogakure. Isasen replied, sitting up slowly. An awkward silence fell over the three of them. Aruki absent-mindedly wondered if he could hit Isasen on the head hard enough to cause memory loss. On the other hand, he doubted that Hokage would be very happy about it. So, I won't dwell on this matter any further, Isasen interrupted suddenly. I'm not going to repeat to anyone anything I heard today. It's the least I can do for the man who seems to have saved my life. Aruki blinked at this unexpected turn of events. He studied Isesai's face for any sign of deception before looking at Saratobi. The Sandaime smiled slightly. It seemed like neither of them believed Isesai was lying. Aruki growled and shrugged, backing away into the comfort of the shadows before moving into the side kitchen and out of sight. The other two occupants of the office had taken to staying hidden whenever they could during the war. The habit would probably never break. Well, let's move on, Saratobi finally said, ignoring the slight tension in the air caused mostly by the redhead. Isesai, how are you feeling? Isesai shifted a little, testing his limbs as he clenched and unclenched his hands. Stiff, but that will go away soon. Can I trouble you for a glass of water or tea? Saratobi nodded immediately, but Aruki was already returning to the room with a cup of water in one hand. Without a word, it was handed to Isesai before Aruki stepped back and looked toward the kitchen as Saratobi and Isesai realized they could hear the water starting to boil. Isesai nodded slowly in thanks, studying the redhead half hidden in the shadows with bewildered curiosity. The man did not give off an unapproachable aura, and when he woke up halfway back to Konoha on the Flying Fox, Aruki's grip on him had been careful and protective. Now, the man just seemed uneasy, as if he wasn't sure what to do with Isesai now that Isesai knew. And yes, he knew. He had picked up enough to realize that it was the Jinchuriki and the Kyubi. The last time he had checked, Uzumaki Naruto had been the vessel, and he should only be, of course, 8 years older than the last time he had seen the boy. He suspected the red hair was an Uzumaki trait, though he couldn't detect anything. Isesai had also figured out that the man was probably from the future or at least a parallel universe, although he was not an expert on the subject. The casual way he had mentioned his son's name, even in passing, had a certain quality of warm affection. If he had no doubt that the two had been friends, he could tell that this man was also powerful, a master of Fuinjutsu, and an excellent strategist, if the plan the man had concocted at that moment was any indication. Studying the redhead carefully, Isesai frowned at the tiredness he could see in the lines of the man's shoulders. They were tense with fatigue he doubted was caused by his supposed mission in Kumo. His eyes were too old for such a young man to confirm it. And the way Aruki had mentioned the war before, the deep disgust and grief mixed to form the word, could only have come from a war veteran too used to blood and death. But he had also sensed the innate kindness in the redhead. When the man had brought him home, he had felt the absolute trust that the Sandaime had in Aruki and the instinctive attention that Aruki possessed when he had guessed what Isesai had wanted before he had even asked for it. Suddenly, the kettle rang, and the redhead was already moving, a flash of crimson fire between the shadows. The kettle went off, and the sound of cabinets opening and closing reached their ears. A minute later, Aruki was back with ramen in one hand and a fork in the other. Isesai's eyebrows rose. The redhead had even realized that there was no way his fingers were dexterous enough to use chopsticks at the moment. "Thank you," Isesai said out loud this time, hoping to ease some of the worried anxiety flashing in the man's blue gaze, showing his own sincere gratitude. The redhead studied him for a moment, his blue eyes penetrating him before the intensity disappeared, and a softer look replaced the previous tension on Aruki's features. "You're welcome," the redhead snorted a little. The slightest hint of embarrassment showed on his face, and Isesai caught a glimpse of the blonde boy this man had grown out of. Saratobi, watching this exchange, tried to hide his amusement. Seriously, first Kakashi, and now Isesai. Aruki was drawing people in without even realizing it. "Very well, let's get back to it." Saratobi caught everyone's attention again as he turned to Aruki. "It's an excellent plan. There are some parts we'll have to polish, but overall, since Isesai-san has agreed, we can work with him." Aruki nodded once in recognition. Saratobi turned to Isesai. "For now, Isesai-san will have to stay here. No one enters my office, and the seals on the doors hide any sign of chakra. Once you are well." Isesai also nodded. Saratobi turned once more to Aruki. "Good job, Aruki-kun. Go home and get some rest. I will have one of my ambu go get you when the council meets. You will want to be present." "Yes." Aruki ran a hand through his hair, adjusting his Jounin vest as he prepared to leave. There is also another matter I want to talk to you about, but it can wait until tomorrow. As much as I don't like the idea right now, I guess you'll want to act fast. Indeed, Saratobi nodded, smiling. And Aruki-kun, maybe you want to prepare for Kakashi's visit very soon. He's been looking for you all over the village since you left 5 days ago. Aruki looked at Saratobi doubtfully. Kakashi? Why? Saratobi shrugged. It seems you've made quite an impact on his team. Jin wants to meet you, but it's been quite entertaining watching him search for someone who hasn't even been here all the time. I hadn't seen him work this hard in a long time. Aruki snorted and rolled his eyes. Great. Not only is he a pervert, Kakashi has become a stalker. How unlucky I am. With a last nod, the redhead nodded toward Issei, who had managed to stand up, although somewhat unsure, and had sketched a respectful bow with a slight smile on his face when he straightened up again. Thank you again, Aruki-san, Issei said. Aruki gave him a brief smile, and something in his face relaxed before turning to Saratobi and giving his own greeting with a gesture. The redhead disappeared, and the remaining occupants could hear the sound of Aruki's foot pushing off from the windowsill of the outer office. He's an interesting man, Issei commented after a brief pause, sitting back down and picking up his ramen. Yes, agreed Saratobi cordially. He was great in the past, and I have no doubt he will do so again, whether he wants it or not. Futon Kaidorai. Wind release spear of the 5-pointed star. Finish wow. That was long. I was only planning to write half of this length, but I couldn't find a good place to stop. Anyway, check it out and let me know what you think. Across from Aruki, with his legs swinging in the air, Naruto stood on the counter, watching the redhead work. The bruise on his face was already fading, and Kakashi knew it would disappear by morning. A little bit, Aruki replied without looking up. Over the years, Kakashi had learned that when Aruki didn't want to talk more on a subject, it was best to leave it alone. Maybe another time. If you know Fuin Jutsu, Naruto interjected. How come you can't teach me? After the intruders had left, Aruki had given the blonde a simplified rundown of what Fuin Jutsu was and what the protection seals he was currently making would do. Could they set those bastards on fire? Aruki had explained indifferently as he looked at Kakashi. But your sensei over there has a duty to protect the citizens of Konoha, so he'd have to report me. Kakashi had refrained from asking why Aruki didn't have a duty to protect the citizens of Konoha and report himself. He could just as easily talk about setting them on fire. The little demonic light in the redhead's eyes when Aruki mentioned said citizens, fiercely protective, like a mother over her child, convinced Kakashi that Aruki wouldn't care. Frankly speaking, Kakashi wouldn't care either, but he didn't feel like getting a scolding from the Sandaime. So, he stayed quiet. He figured if they ever managed to get to Naruto again, the seals would be the least of his problems when he and Aruki were done with them. Naruto had immediately accepted the seals and had been asking questions nonstop since Aruki started. Aruki paused briefly at the question, his brush hovering over the paper for a second before continuing. There are better teachers out there, and I just don't have the teacher material. Naruto pouted at him. You gave Sasuke, Sakura-chan, and me a lesson before Kakashi-sensei arrived that day, and we both listened. We've done very well on our missions thanks to your advice, haven't we, sensei? Kakashi felt a hint of amusement when Aruki reached out and tapped the blonde on the forehead, straightening out of the seal as he put down the brush. You're doing very well on your missions, Naruto, Aruki corrected with kindness. And like you said, all I did was give you advice. I didn't teach you anything. Naruto just pouted more, but couldn't stay annoyed as Aruki picked up the small stack of now-finished seals. Now what? The blonde asked inquisitively, jumping off the counter. Kakashi followed behind him, hands stuffed in his pockets. It had been a long time since he had seen a Fuinjutsu user in action. Now we'll place them around the apartment, Aruki said. The door, of course. They came out, and Aruki knocked one seal on each side of the door, discharging a small amount of his chakra into each of them. The symbols on the star-shaped paper glowed an electric blue before dissipating from the paper for a moment. Once the paper was removed, the same symbols could be seen on the actual wall of the apartment. They glowed brightly in the night before they, too, disappeared. Kakashi tentatively reached a hand forward to touch the ordinary-looking wood. He could feel the steady surge of power beneath his fingers. He turned to Aruki. keeping silent, already sure he couldn't keep the amazement out of his voice as he spoke. Most Fuinjutsu users stick seals on paper and such to a surface, and the chakra placed on them keeps them activated. Instead, Kakashi only knew two other people who could transfer seals directly from paper to the actual object with so little effort: the Yondaime and Sannin Jiraiya. That meant a rookie was just as good as any of them. From the way the redhead had talked about it before, Kakashi had thought a rookie only knew enough to get by. "I thought a rookie only knew enough to get by," Kakashi said dryly, arching an eyebrow at the redhead as he listened with growing amusement. A rookie didn't seem impressed, thankfully. "Anyone who wants to do any harm will be thrown back before they can get within 3 meters of this door," a rookie announced in a satisfied tone. "If they don't get the hint the first time and try again, they'll receive an electric shock and then be thrown back. If they still don't get it, they'll die," Kakashi interrupted dryly, arching an eyebrow at the redhead as he listened with growing amusement. A rookie didn't seem impressed, thankfully. "For them, I didn't put a transportation component in the seal. They'll be thrown into the river, and if they try a third time..." Kakashi was very grateful for his mask at that moment as he couldn't help the smile that appeared on his features. The laughter that was undoubtedly shown on the visible part of his face caught a rookie's attention, and the redhead smiled in response, shaking his head. The copy ninja pointed out, "They won't need to go to the hospital once they're electrocuted." A rookie waved his hand as he headed towards the door. "When I say electrocuted, I mean that's how I'd like to picture it in my head. In reality, they'll just get a nasty electric shock. And if they're smart, they'll go home with minor burns. Otherwise, they'll risk getting pneumonia. The Naka River is still cold this time of year, and if they try it again after that..." A rookie stopped and briefly looked at Naruto, who blinked curiously before focusing on the copy ninja, who was now leaning lazily against the door frame. "I don't think they will." Kakashi smiled at a rookie knowingly. He had spent almost 2 hours in the redhead's presence and knew, at the very least, that a rookie was a very careful man. Careful people were dangerous people, as they were prepared for almost anything. They had contingency plans for contingency plans. A rookie stared at the copy ninja before continuing in a steely voice. "There's also a gravity component to the seal. It will keep them on the ground until the seal releases them. And by that time, I will know, and I will come and deal with them myself." Kakashi shook his head and studied the redhead intently as the man turned to look towards the nearest window. He had not yet seen a rookie fight, but he imagined it would be both grim and terrifying. The unwavering determination in a rookie's voice rang true, and from experience, Kakashi knew it was dangerous to face men like that on a good day. They were downright suicidal if faced on a bad day. His former sensei had been like that, and Kakashi had seen enemy ninja literally run for their lives at the first sight of an enraged Yondaime. Devils had fled when Minato wasn't angry. However, now, watching a rookie with a redhead, listening intently to Naruto as a student babbled excitedly about the first time they had chased Tora through Konoha, really listening when others would have nodded disinterestedly and ignored the boy, Kakashi just wondered. Why had Naruto said that he had only met a rookie when the Jonin had returned from his mission 5 days ago, and only briefly? However, even in the short time that Kakashi had interacted with him, a rookie had proven to be unnaturally protective towards Naruto, threatening intruders and placing seals for the boy as if it was his responsibility to do so. Attack-san, Naruto wants to try his luck activating a seal. His sensei should stop thinking about it and come see him. Kakashi blinked and opened his mouth to protest the accusation when he noticed the mocking glint in the other Jonin's eyes. He closed his mouth again and scoffed softly, pulling out his book in retaliation. As Kakashi now expected but still didn't understand, a rookie just smiled fondly at him without a single trace of annoyance in his expression. Sighing inwardly, the copy ninja put his book back away and tried not to sulk. It wasn't fun if the other party didn't get angry, though he couldn't show any real anger towards a rookie for this. "Mom, call me Kakashi." Kakashi walked over and looked at the seal that was now on the coffee table. "Attack-sen makes me feel old." "You're old, sensei," his student replied, and Kakashi almost scowled at Naruto, about to remind the blonde that a rookie was the same age before glaring at a rookie again when the redhead chuckled. There was nothing special about the action itself. Naruto had given a witty comeback, and anyone with a sense of humor would have laughed. But it was the sound because, for one brief, painful, pitiful moment. Kakashi could have sworn that it had been Minato who had stood there, laughing at something Obito had said. However, Kakashi stared at him for a moment too long and immediately regretted it when a rookie seemed to realize that something had disturbed him. The humor died from his face, and his eyes became wary again. Kakashi hadn't even noticed that the shadows he had first noticed in a rookie's cerulean eyes had faded sometime during dinner, until now when they returned to their place, as if they had never left. Kakashi felt like kicking himself, but a rookie spoke again as if nothing had happened, and his voice was still soft as he replied, "You can call me a rookie then if you want." Kakashi felt hesitant and had no time to think when Naruto, who was already impatient, reached out a hand and touched the seal before any of them had a chance to react. The seal literally began to smoke before a flash of chakra almost cut it off, and the paper seal quickly disintegrated along with the part of the table it had been on. The three of them fell silent as they stared at the pile of ashes and blackened wood on the floor. Was that supposed to happen? Kakashi asked softly, finally breaking the silence as he glanced sideways at the other. A rookie's face remained impassive for a full 2 seconds before his lips curved upwards, and amusement returned to his features. Kakashi smirked triumphantly. A smile was better than nothing, especially since he had been the one responsible for getting rid of the earlier mood in the first place. As if realizing he wasn't in trouble for damaging the coffee table or doing it wrong, Naruto's face split into an embarrassed smile as he rubbed the back of his head. "Sorry, Aruki-san." Aruki shrugged. "It happens. That was a seal to create sparks for a campfire. You just put too much chakra into it." Almost as an afterthought, he added, looking in Kakashi's direction, "Could you start with your team on chakra control exercises? It would help them all in the long run." The sooner they start with that, Kakashi felt thoughtfully. "I'll start them tomorrow." Sasuke could also benefit from some training of that sort, but I think chakra control comes easy to Sakura. Naruto had perked up at the idea of new training, and Kakashi was distracted by the hyperactive blonde now, trying to get out of him what the exercise would do so much that he almost missed the look of grim satisfaction that crossed a rookie's face. Almost, but not quite. Kakashi didn't say anything and stored this new information in a corner of his mind that he had set aside for all the things that didn't make much sense about a rookie. He would think about it later. The rest of the afternoon was dedicated to placing the seals. When they finished, a rookie glanced at the clock and ordered the blonde to shower and go to bed. Kakashi snickered when he realized what a good mother a rookie could be. The redhead just gave him a murderous look before saying goodbye to the blonde. Now, standing in front of a rookie's apartment door with his hands shoved in his pockets, Kakashi looked at the quiet redhead and decided to try one more round of questions and answers. He looked back at a rookie's door. "Your apartment has seals, too?" An almost evil smile appeared on the redhead's face for a moment. "Of course, but they're not as harmless as the ones I put up at Naruto's house. If you had come to my door with the intention of seriously harming me, the seals would have electrocuted you 6 different ways. And yes, this time when I say electrocuted, I mean electrocuted." Kakashi tried not to look too perturbed as he walked away from the innocent-looking door. They fell back into a companionable silence, and Kakashi wondered if a rookie knew that he wanted to ask the redhead questions, and that was the reason why he wasn't being ordered to go home yet. He decided to just speak his mind. He thought of Naruto and decided to start with his student. "Not that I think it's a bad thing, but why are you helping Naruto so much?" A rookie tilted her head just enough to glance at him. "Why not? He's 12 years old, he lives alone, and his house is broken into every 2 weeks. What kind of person would I be if I didn't help him?" Kakashi didn't say anything, wondering if they really did break into his student's house every 2 weeks, and, if so, how a rookie would know. "You broke someone's wrist," Kakashi reminded him dryly. "That's a lot of anger for someone as calm as you." A rookie snorted. "You wouldn't believe the temper I had when I was younger." "No, younger than that. No, younger. I used to get angry at everything, although I would also calm down pretty quickly, probably due to my short attention span. But no longer." It didn't suit a rookie. Some tiredness and tension showed on his expression as he looked at the night sky. "I hadn't spent most of my anger a long time ago." Kakashi frowned, but let the matter go. A rookie would probably keep quiet if he insisted any further. "You didn't report me for breaking a civilian's wrist." A rookie was looking at him again out of the corner of his eye. Kakashi snorted. "Even though I wanted to, Do you really think the Sandaime is going to do anything to me about this? He can't watch Naruto all the time, but he treats him like his own grandson. He would be furious with civilians. Aruki nodded his head. That's true. Kakashi contemplated his next thought for a moment before asking, do you want to join our training session tomorrow? Naruto would be happy, and I'm sure Sasuke and Sakura would be happy to see you too. Aruki gave him a doubtful look. Sasuke? Seriously? Well, maybe he's not happy, Kakashi corrected. Interested? No. Grumpy? Definitely. I don't care. You can choose. Aruki's mouth healed into another small smile, but this time, she gave him a suspicious look. I hope you're not trying to sell me your students, Kakashi. I already told you I'm not teacher material. Kakashi tried to put on a slightly offended expression. I would never try to sell my lovely students to anyone. The humor in his eyes faded a little. But I don't agree that you're not a good teacher. Aruki's voice puzzled Kakashi a little, but he managed to reply lightly, being careful not to let his tone be mistaken for mockery. You got all that after he made a hole in his own coffee table? Huh? As expected, a slight smile appeared again on the redhead's face, and the tension that had taken over the man's shoulders broke free. I'll think about it, he finally said. Aruki, I think I got it. He'll want me to report to him in the morning to talk about my recent mission. I've been getting enough rest, but I'll see if I can stop by there someday later. Kakashi felt but couldn't help but ask one last thing. You really haven't been in Konoha for the last week, have you? He received an impassive look for his problems, but he didn't stop insisting. His ego was at stake here. I'm a tracker. My dogs are trackers. We're the best. But no, I wasn't able to find you, which means you weren't here, right? Another beat of silence, and then a soft laugh echoed through the night air, bright in its authenticity. On the outside, Kakashi was stunned to see the face in front of him come to life for the first time since he had met this man. On the inside, he was completely stunned. If he had ever had any doubts before, now they were all gone. This Kamaruki, whoever he was, had Minato's laugh. The copy ninja couldn't help the smile that curved his lips as his posture relaxed again. He didn't care what the others said. Aruki was not a jonin sent to Kumo as a spy 8 years ago. He didn't know the true story, and he definitely planned to find out. But even with all the secrets that Aruki had, Kakashi also knew that he could trust this man. There was no way the redhead could be an enemy ninja. Not if he could laugh like that in the presence of someone he had known for barely 2 hours. And it did hurt a little to hear Minato's laughter coming from this strange shinobi, but that feeling was dying even as he thought this. Instead, he found himself wondering what had happened to Aruki to make the redhead lock away this laughter, this happiness. What had happened to hide this man so that Kakashi was only now getting a glimpse of what Aruki could have been, or might have been, and what would it take to draw this man back and keep him here, instead of hiding behind the distant, brooding, tired soldier that Kakashi had met for the first time. But for now, that was enough. When Aruki's laughter died down, fading into a satisfied smirk, Kakashi just smiled back lightly. So that means you weren't in Konoha? Aruki smiled and headed to his apartment. Good night, Kakashi. See you around. Kakashi raised a hand lazily. Good night. Then come to Training Ground 7 if you can. A nod, and then the redhead disappeared, the door closing silently behind him. Kakashi stood still for a while longer before heading towards his own house, his steps lighter than usual, even for a shinobi. It had been an interesting evening. He could honestly say it had been a long time since he had this much fun. He absent-mindedly wondered if Aruki would invite him to dinner again. Maybe he could bring Sasuke and Sakura too. That would be Team 7. As he continued to reflect on the things he had learned that night and made plans for the next day's training, Kakashi didn't notice that his mind had already subconsciously placed Aruki with his team. Finished. Well, this is more of a bridge or a filler than anything else, but I thought it was a good time to end. Please leave a review and tell me what you thought. I hope Kakashi wasn't too out of character, but I like it like this, so don't judge too harshly. Next chapter, all the drama will resume when Aruki meets the Senju 6. Joins Team 7 for a training session, heads back to Kumo, and faces the council. No, my team, the team I was on. Who would you be then? Kakashi asked lightly, cautious of the redhead's reaction. Aruki's mouth twisted into a bitter smile. Like Naruto, I guess. Kakashi mentally compared the two. One quiet, the other loud. One patient, the other impetuous. one calm, the other irascible. But both were quite friendly, unpredictable, and charismatic. I see it, he nodded, only to be met with a sad smile. You shouldn't, said a rookie quietly, tilting his head back to stare at the morning sky. I don't want him to become what I am. Kakashi frowned as he watched the redhead. He saw him more clearly now, but wherever he saw a rookie, yesterday in his apartment, in the mission assignment room, even during the fights with Naruto and Sasuke, a shadow of something dark and unhappy always seemed to cling to the Jounin without letting go. I'm never rambling again. Kakashi blinked as cerulean eyes turned to him, and a rookie rubbed the back of his hand, very similar to Naruto. I still do it from time to time. I'm sorry. Kakashi shrugged and smiled with his eyes to assure the redhead that he didn't mind. However, the sadness still remained, so he subtly steered the conversation in another direction, nodding his head toward Sakura. The kunoichi seemed to be able to walk 6 or 7 steps before slipping a little, but she didn't fall completely anymore. So, I guess that jutsu is yours? Aruki smiled slightly. Yes, I created it several years ago, and you know the ninjutsu of spacetime. It was a non-committal question. Aruki mused non-committally. Something Kakashi raised an eyebrow at. You said that about Fuinjutsu. Aruki shrugged. It's true. Kakashi stared at him. You transferred those seals from the paper to the wall with a drop of your chakra. Most people who know anything about Fuinjutsu can't even get it off paper. I practiced a lot, and I guess I have a knack for it, Aruki replied. Kakashi just shook his head and looked out at the lake. He was looking forward to trying this jutsu, and now he was regretting keeping his Sharingan hidden before. Would you like to learn? Kakashi looked over and scratched his head sheepishly at the amused smile on Aruki's face. Well, you didn't go through many seals before. Use your eye. Then I'll go through them one more time. Kakashi startled and turned sharply to face the redhead. How did you know? He finally asked. Aruki's mouth curved into a smile that never reached his eyes. I know everything. Kakashi suddenly pushed away from the tree to face the copying ninja. So, you want to learn? Kakashi watched him for a moment longer before nodding silently and raising his hand to uncover his eye. He wasn't sure what Aruki meant, but it wasn't like it was a big secret. After all, they called him the copying ninja of Konoha. As soon as his Sharingan focused on Aruki's hands, the redhead quickly went through the seals again, and Kakashi memorized them, making a mental note to start practicing the jutsu as soon as he had some free time. The ninjutsu of spacetime was nothing to play with in a real fight if he didn't actually know how to use it properly. Thanks, Kakashi said when Aruki finished. He quickly went back to hiding his Sharingan, and soon the two of them were back to watching Sakura practice her chakra control. You use your jutsus quite easily, Kakashi commented after a brief silence. Aruki chuckled. I have more in my arsenal, Kakashi. That jutsu I just showed you was one of the first I created. How old were you when you did that? 16, maybe 17? At this, Kakashi snapped his head around. You did a combination of water and space-time ninjutsu when you were a Chunin? Aruki opened his mouth as if to refute this, but closed it again and nodded firmly. There was a strange look on his face, but it disappeared when Kakashi blinked. But I'd never seen an enemy ninja use it before. Surely someone would have been able to figure it out and copy it eventually, Kakashi pointed out. Aruki shrugged. None of the ninja enemies who use this jutsu are in a position to try and replicate it. Kakashi blinked before nodding reluctantly. He supposed that made sense, but he had a feeling he was missing something. Suddenly, a scream was heard from between the trees, and both Jounin turned to look. The sound startled Sakura enough that the kunoichi fell back down next to the trees. Naruto seemed to have reached the halfway point, but lost concentration. Somehow, he had managed to transfer chakra to his hands and was now hanging from a side branch with his palms facing Kakashi. A drop of sweat fell from him. That's different, Kakashi commented, watching the blonde flail in the air as he considered whether or not he should help his student. He'd never seen that happen before. Aruki smiled and leaned back against the tree. Just leave him. He'll manage to get down on his own. Kakashi shrugged and leaned back down. You have a lot of faith in him, too confident. Aruki turned to look at Naruto, who no doubt would make Hokage one day, at Sasuke, who would become General Anbu and Naruto's second-in-command, and at Sakura, who would be Naruto's main medic, and the occasional push to keep the blonde focused. I have a lot of faith in all of them. Aruki gave Kakashi a less gloomy and more genuine smile. Someday, they will be great. 3 hours later, Aruki walked through the village after having separated from Team 7 a few minutes before. Sakura had finally managed to cross the lake without falling, although she was still almost wobbly, as if drunk every few steps. Naruto and Sasuke had managed to reach one of the highest branches of their respective trees, but had still not managed to stay there for more than a few seconds. At that moment, Kakashi had announced that it was time to do their rank mission, and the three had reluctantly stopped their training. Although the boys had been left swollen with dirt after all the times they had fallen face first to the ground, at least they were both completely dry. Sakura, on the other hand, was soaked head to toe and very embarrassed as she trembled alongside her teammates. Aruki and Kakashi had looked at her before each of them picked up one of the boys and quickly threw them into the lake. Naruto and Sasuke had quickly surfaced, one screaming while the other glared at him. But Sakura had started laughing, even as she made a valiant attempt to look sorry. The three of them had been ordered to go home to change clothes before meeting back up for their mission, and Aruki had excused herself for the rest of the day, explaining that she still had some errands to run before their mission tomorrow. All three boys had varying degrees of disappointment etched on their faces, but Kakashi had sensed it and had wished her good luck on her mission before dismissing his students. Now Aruki found herself walking down a familiar route, down a side street towards where one of her future students in her timeline lived. No, he had met Kisaragi Yuka until the boy was 12 and he was 18, and he was with the Genin team by order of the Godame. It had taken him one look to realize that the boy was being neglected in a total of 3 weeks to get him out of his house and take him to Aruki's later. Aruki saw a familiar head of dark brown, almost black hair, walking hand in hand with a tall man with similar features. Aruki stiffened, but kept his distance. Yuka had finally told him that neglect and occasional abuse had only started after his mother died in a house fire. Before that, his father had been a good man and as good a father as anyone could wish for. Judging by the 6-year-old smile as he listened to his father talk, the mother probably hadn't died yet, which meant Yuka still had a chance to keep his family intact. Aruki couldn't take the boy away if there was nothing wrong. After weighing his options, he decided it was best that way. Yuka was 6 years old, not 12, and Aruki couldn't stay that long. He was no longer a sensei, and he would probably have to leave the village from time to time. He wouldn't have time to take care of a child on top of everything else. Decided, Aruki quickly summoned a small, orange-furred fox. "Don't watch them, but follow them," ordered Aruki in a low voice. "Protect yourself, so nothing happens to any of them." The fox bowed his head to show that he understood before trotting away, disappearing into the hedges of a nearby house. Satisfied, Aruki turned around and walked away. Maybe in 6 years, this time, Naruto would be a sensei again, and maybe the Godame would see fit for me to give him the same 3 genin that I had given Aruki back in the day. "Welcome." Aruki nodded to the smiling shop owner as he walked into the bookstore. He hadn't actually planned on passing by that place, but his feet had carried him here, and he had decided that another trip later would just be a waste of time. He automatically headed to a section separate from the other books, and his gaze skipped the rows of distinctive orange spines before stopping at the plain brown cover of the book he was looking for. The shop owner blinked in some puzzlement as Aruki carried the book to the counter to pay. She had seen the Jounin head to the special section reserved for the books of the legendary Sannin, but most who passed by there came back with at least a few volumes of Ika Ika. She mentally shrugged and quickly accepted the money from him. "Well, the fewer perverts there are in Konoha, the better. Thanks, and come back soon." Aruki nodded his head in thanks and headed towards the door with the tale of Ulysses under his arm. He had already read it several times, but the book was still his favorite read. Aruki's next stop was a ninja clothing store, and he immediately headed to the coat section, examining the trench coats on display with a critical eye. His old coat had been made by Shizen as a gift for becoming ANBU General. She had loved the midnight blue, short-sleeved, open-collar coat adorned with chakra and tongues of flame decorating the bottom edge, along with pockets on the outside for her hands and inside to hold weapons and poisons. She had worn it everywhere after Shizen had presented it to her, much to the woman's delight. The medic had admitted she had based the design on her father's coat after hearing a description from Tsunade, but Aruki had been quick to assure her that he didn't mind. Unfortunately, said coat had been practically torn to shreds barely halfway through his battle with Madara, and he had been forced to leave it behind. The redhead had finally settled on a simple dark brown trench coat that was lightweight and durable and similar in cut to his old trench coat. It would do for now until he could convince this timeline shizen to remake the trench coat. He just didn't feel right without a long coat on his uniform. Aruki's last stop of the day was, of course, the Hokage monument. Thinking back, he realized he had spent a third of his time in Konoha, just sitting on the edge of the mountain, looking out at the village and beyond. The view was always great from so high up, and he had done everything from drinking sake to taking a nap and doing absolutely nothing up there. Standing here now, with his eyes closed and the wind snaking through his hair, Aruki could almost pretend that he was still in his own time, before Konoha fell, and he was simply waiting for Team 7, the entire Team 7, to join him on one of those rare days when everyone was free from their duties for a few hours. With a sigh, his eyes blinked open, and he settled into his usual spot at the Hokage monument, leaning on one of the ends of the Yandame's hair. With his eyes open, everything was different. There were no threatening clouds on the horizon like there had been throughout the war. The clouds made it seem like the battlefield was a completely different world. It could be as bright and sunny as any summer day, but the world grew dark, and the temperature dropped the moment one stepped onto the battlefield. The village was almost sleepy, lazy, unkempt. The village she had come to recognize as her own had always had a tension and tiredness weighing it down, as if Konoha itself had grown tired of war. Now, however, in the distance, Aruki could make out civilians talking quietly amongst themselves, a handful of shinobi exchanging quiet conversations, happy and ignorant of all the things that would eventually lead this village to its doom. But that was what he was there for. The future was his responsibility. His duty was to give these people the chance to live their lives their way. And this time, he wouldn't fail. At dawn, Aruki left the village unseen, her hair up and her brown coat billowing behind her as she ran through the forests of her home country. She no longer had many opportunities to break free and run wild. But if she kept up that speed, she could run out of Hai no Kuni and through Yu no Kuni and Shimo no Kuni before climbing into Kurama's car to reach her destination on the promised day and a half. Mr. Hokage, Sarutobi-sama. Solovey looked up at the formal speech as his two advisors entered his office. Omura, Karu, what can I do for you? Konoha has received word of a sudden chakra explosion in Kumogakure. He began stiffly. And there have been sightings of someone who appears to be Yujito Ni of Kumo. We wish to know if you have received any information regarding the recent events. Solovey hid a satisfied smile and frowned thoughtfully. I have spoken with Isan, but he has also expressed a lack of knowledge regarding the matter. I have also reviewed the recent missions, but we have not received many requests from any of those countries, and no Yujito has been sent to the ones we have received. From your two former teammates, Funer and the Master Y, Omura took over. However, there must be some sort of connection. The rumors that have reached us are very clear. The man that was sighted has Byakugan eyes. He jumped and mentally congratulated Aruki on a job well done, making a note to have the man's payment ready upon his return. However, before he could think of a response, they heard quick, light footsteps, and the three of them turned to look towards the open door as a Chunin stopped just outside the Hokage's office. The Chunin made a quick bow in the direction of the three shinobi in the office before focusing on Solovey. Sir, a man, definitely a Yujito, just appeared at the gates. He states that he is Yujito Ni. Sarutobi jumped and forced a shocked expression on his face as he watched his advisors stiffen in surprise. Before any of them could say anything, Sarutobi quickly stood up. Are you sure? He said. The Chunin nodded. Yes, sir. The guards at the gates asked several times. Sarutobi nodded briefly. I'll go myself. Please go to the Yujito compound and inform Isan of this development. The Chunin shook his head. Yasama is already there, Hokage-sama. I believe he sensed the man's chakra signal and went to check it out himself. He stepped out from behind his desk. Then I guess I'll join him. Omura, Karu, both advisors nodded sadly, and the three shinobi left the Hokage tower with the Chunin in the lead. As they passed one of the open windows in the hallway, he jumped up and instinctively looked outside, just in time to see a familiar flash of crimson that disappeared over one of the nearby rooftops. This is a serious turn of events, Okage-sama. Why was the council not informed of such a significant development once Yugai Seisai was confirmed as Yugai Seisai through 2 blood tests, a verification of his cursed seal Yugon chakra signal, and a somewhat lengthy interrogation that Yas flatly insisted the council perform? The clan representatives, civilians, Danzo, the newly returned Yasi, the Okage and others had gathered in the council chamber. Solovey wasted no time and launched immediately into a heavily edited version of what had actually happened, introducing Iruki and explaining his role in the discovery and subsequent recovery of the Yuga clan head's brother. Iruki stood at his side with a face as unreadable as a stone wall as the other occupants of the room attempted to gauge the redhead's reactions throughout Sarutobi's explanation. Currently, Omura was staring coldly at Iruki, even as he directed his question to Solovey. But it was Yasi who answered, rising from his seat among the clan heads. "This was a problem the Yuga clan must solve," said Yasi coldly, his white eyes scanning the room. "When Kazum-san returned with news of my brother, I requested that this matter be handled quietly and discreetly. It could cause a possible war with Kumogakure if it was discovered that a spy had been in their territory. By handling this matter as we have, we can claim ignorance of my brother's survival." His gaze hardened as he continued, "Just as we did with the attempted kidnapping of my eldest daughter 9 years ago." A quiet murmur spread through the room, and Yasi saluted Inoichi Chausa in acceptance of this justification. Meanwhile, Chikaku remained still in his seat, a calculating glint in his eyes as his attention remained on the redhead standing behind Sarutobi. He didn't say anything, though, and the Sandaime let his gaze move to the other occupants of the room. The civilian representative frowned heavily, glancing occasionally at Danzo further back in the room. Danzo remained expressionless, apparently weighing their words. While Omura and Karu exchanged a few words with each other, Asuma accepted Karu's gritted teeth and nodded as the man sat back down. "This matter seems to have been handled quite efficiently," said Kamen. "Now we can demand compensation from the Raikage of Kumo. It will be quite beneficial to Konoha and wonderfully executed." Inoichi added, his blue-green eyes set on the Hokage beside Sarutobi. Iruki bowed his head in acknowledgement. "Thank you, Inoichi-sama, but the credit must also go to Lokage-sama, Yasa-sama, and Asi-sama. I simply followed the plan as instructed." Sarutobi remained neutral on the outside, but felt a pang of worry inside. The plan was no doubt suggested by Iruki, so that the future Hokage would minimize his ability as a strategist. Sarutobi knew that the redhead wanted to go unnoticed as long as possible and to lie shamelessly in front of the council. The Sandaime wondered how dangerous Danzo was to make Iruki so cautious. Of course, Chausa nodded from next to Inoichi, while Chikaka tilted his head, the interest on his face rising to another level. However, it was at that moment when Danzo finally spoke, moving forward to stare at Solovey. "However, Okage-sama," Danzo began, "where did that Kazanin come from? I had never seen his face before. I don't even remember sending any Kumo to infiltrate." Solovey didn't even blink. "I destroyed all his files, even his academy records, before sending him to Kumo as a spy. If he had been caught and tracked back to Konoha, how could we demand much worse things from them? And I don't remember having to inform anyone before sending any of my agents on a mission." The reprimand was subtle but harsh, and Danzo stepped back reluctantly, bowing his head as he settled into his seat. There was a slightly tense silence as Sarutobi looked around the room before speaking again. "Then, for now, this matter is closed. I will send a messenger to Kumogakure to request a meeting with the Raikage. But everything we have discussed here obviously cannot be leaked." Simultaneous nods responded to this statement, and Sarutobi continued, "Then this meeting is adjourned." As everyone stood up and bowed to the Hokage before heading towards the doors, Sarutobi looked over his shoulder at the impassive redhead. "Get some rest, Iruki-kun," he said quietly. "You did very well. Come to the office tomorrow, and I'll have your check ready." Iruki blinked, his neutral features never changing as he gave a slight bow before heading to the door as well. He waited patiently for the others to leave first, never losing sight of the piercing gaze from across the room where Danzo still sat. Once he walked out of the Hokage tower on his own. His shoulders relaxed slightly, but they tensed again as he felt a somewhat familiar presence approaching him. Aruki-san. Aruki turned to look at Shikaku, keeping a tight control on his expression as he looked at the scarred features of the father of one of his future best friends. He had come to know this man in his own timeline, spending hours at a time crouched, thinking of battle plans with him and his son. Commander Shikaku had a strange, crooked smile on his face, one that Aruki had come to recognize as the one Shikaku always used when he discovered something particularly interesting. At that moment, it was a disconcerting expression to Aruki. "Can I help you with something, Shikaku-san?" Aruki asked politely, remembering the correct honorific for the strategist. Shikaku just waved a hand lazily in the air before tucking it back into his deerskin coat. "Shikaku is fine, and perhaps you can help me. Would you like to play a game of shogi with me?" The lightning had been channeled into the katana, taking the form of a panther. The jutsu itself had been directed by the sword. If Aruki's control over the chakra had wavered even slightly, she would have undoubtedly lost control of her sword entirely. It was incredible. Tenten jumped forward with joy in her eyes as she leaned down to study the sword Aruki still held. Without waiting for an answer, she turned to face Guy, her enthusiasm momentarily keeping her tiredness at bay. "Guy-sensei, did you see that? Why didn't you invite Aruki earlier? He's a Kenjutsu master. Did you see that guy?" A drop of sweat fell from Guy's face before he shook his head. He had no idea why Tenten would want to be a medical ninja when it was so obvious she was much more suited to becoming a weapons specialist. Still, the jutsu Aruki had just performed would surprise anyone. "That was great, Aruki-san." At his side, Niji stepped forward without thinking about resting. "You must have an affinity with lightning." Aruki blinked and moved to reseal his katana but sighed, seeing the stars in Tenen's eyes, and passed the katana to her. She was even happier, though Aruki had no idea why. The katana had come from her family's shop, after all. "It's not a big deal," Aruki replied, taking the rubber band out of her hair and shaking it. "But I do work well with lightning, too." Yugao shuddered from where he was standing. "Okay," Aruki said. "That was okay. Well, then, are there other elements you feel comfortable with?" Aruki blinked, his eyes narrowing slightly, and Yugao was careful to keep his features expressionless. "Water and fire," the redhead answered slowly. "Some of my jutsus are also based on those elements." Yugao's eyes widened. Water and fire were polar opposites, as were wind and lightning. To have dominion over all four elements was rare. "Not earth?" he asked lightly. Aruki quickly shook his head. "I know some simple earth jutsus I learned as a genin, but that's all. I can't do many earth jutsus." "Well, that's a relief," Yugao said. "I didn't know anyone who could handle the four elements fluently, much less all five." Absent-mindedly, he made the connection that Aruki really reminded him of Uzumaki Naruto. This man was the one Konoha had rejected, feared, and hated. "Some people were really stupid, Aruki-san. When will you be able to join us again for a training session?" Aruki retrieved the katana Tenten was holding out to her. As she grabbed her tanto from the ground, she shrugged and looked at Guy, who smiled back at him. "Come back whenever you want, Aruki-san. As long as it's at least once a week." Aruki raised an eyebrow as he resealed his katana and opened a bottle of water for Tenten. "I don't want to intrude on your own training, Guy." Guy waved his hand in the air to downplay it. "Nonsense. You've been here for 2 hours and my students have already improved. You should come back." Aruki blinked before looking at the 3 students surrounding him. Tenten and Niji nodded at him, and Lee looked at him expectantly. "You just started teaching me that new style, Aruki-san. I couldn't move forward if you don't make sure I'm learning correctly." Aruki sighed and nodded. "I'll be back next week, but for now, your team doesn't have to start training for real, Guy-san." 10 minutes later, Guy had his students run laps around the clearing while Aruki drank his own bottle of water on the sidelines with Yugao at his side. "Thank you for teaching my son that style," Yugao said once Aruki put the bottle away. Aruki shrugged. "It's his. If I didn't teach him, he'd develop it himself in a couple of years. But he needs it now." He suddenly fell silent. Yugao looked at him, frowning slightly. "Something will happen soon." Aruki was silent for a long moment, debating what to say. It will all start during the Chunin exams. In my time, it all started there. Yugao really wanted to ask more, but he bit his tongue. It wasn't likely a rookie would say more on the subject. He trusted the redhead to tell him when he needed to know. For now, they watched the guy team training slower than usual, as the three were still tired from training but still determined to do well. A rookie stifled a yawn as she made her way to the Hokage Tower. She had forgotten what it was like to train with Guy. It was a miracle no one had died under his rigorous regimen. Glancing at the midday sun, she quickened her pace. She needed to inform the Sandame about the Chunin exams before heading to the Nara complex. As she passed the Yamanaka flower shop, the redhead grimaced, recalling the earlier conversation that had popped in her mind just before she escaped from Team Guy's training session. Asuma, of all people, had approached her with an easy smile and a determined glint in his eyes. He had mentioned seeing the jutsu a rookie used earlier when he passed by on his way to see Hokage. Unfortunately for a rookie, this had piqued the interest of the usually calm shinobi, and the Jonin had asked her to join his team for a training session the next day. A rookie had wanted to refuse, but couldn't think of a good excuse. It didn't help that the last time she had seen Asuma, he was covered in blood, missing an arm, clinging to life to bid a final farewell to Shikamaru, who had been rushing to dinner at the time. She had promised to take care of his team. Back then, she had been the second ANBU and Asuma's former Genin team leader. She had been one of the squads under his command, but they had all died on the battlefield. A rookie didn't think Asuma would want her to carry that promise through time, but she had failed once and didn't want to fail again. So, she had agreed. Upon reaching the tower, a rookie stood up and entered through the window of the office. She found it much easier than using the door. Inside, Sarutobi looked up in mild surprise from his paperwork before dismissing the ANBU in the room with a wave of his hand and activating the privacy seals. "Good afternoon, Aruki-kun," greeted Sarutobi, setting aside his paperwork. Aruki offered a half-smile and sat down in one of the chairs in the room. "I need to tell you about the exams," Aruki began. Sarutobi's face turned grim as he clasped his hands together. "Very well," he said in a low voice. Aruki recounted everything she could remember from her first and only Chunin exam in Suna, including Orochimaru, Gaara, Sasuke, the Cursed Seal, the spies, Tsunade's absence, and Sarutobi's own death. The office fell silent when she finished. The silence was neither tense nor horrified, just thoughtful as the Hokage digested the new information. "We'll need to get Jiraiya and Tsunade back before the exams," Sarutobi finally said in a deep voice. Aruki nodded. "We'll need all the help we can get, but getting Tsunade back will be difficult. I'll send a message to Jiraiya and have him try to bring Tsunade back. But if the worst happens," Sarutobi offered, "I'll go find her myself." Sarutobi studied her for a few seconds before giving her a small smile. "I guess if anyone knows how to change her mind, it would be you. But what should I tell Jiraiya? I assume you want to tell him the truth as well." Aruki nodded stiffly. "I'd rather tell them both at the same time. If you could inform him it's an emergency and that everything will be explained once he returns, that would be best." Sarutobi nodded in agreement. "That's fine. I'll send a message to Jiraiya. For now, that's all I can do. I trust you'll know the right time to deal with the spies and Gaara." Aruki nodded. "Leave it to me. I'll handle them when the time comes." Sarutobi nodded in satisfaction before opening a drawer and pulling out an envelope. "Very well. Here's your pay for your recent mission. I'll begin researching the summoning jutsu Orochimaru has created." At the flash of worry in Aruki's eyes, Sarutobi smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, Aruki-kun. I won't die this time. I wish to see Tsunade become Hokage. It would be an interesting change for this village." Aruki sighed but stood up and left with a small bow. She just hoped Sarutobi knew what he was doing. Things would move quickly, and they couldn't afford any mistakes. Later at the Nara complex, "You've finally arrived, Aruki-san," Shikaka said in a slow voice, beckoning her to enter as he saw the redhead waiting at the door. The wait had been problematic. He glanced back in time to see Aruki rolling her eyes and quickly hid a smile. He definitely liked this version of her more than the one from yesterday. "I've already set up the board," Shikaka said, waving his hand toward the shogi board placed on the wooden table. The two of them sat down on either side of it. The Jonin commander discreetly watched the way Aruki's eyes flickered from square to square, no doubt considering different opening moves. He scoffed to himself. It's not as good as it seems. You can start first, he offered aloud, watching as her cerulean gaze rose to meet his. Shikako had finally identified that color after thinking about it the night before. Those eyes were the same as the Yandame's, and there were gestures Aruki made that also reminded him of Minato. He had some suspicions about what that meant, but wasn't entirely sure yet. The Jonin commander watched as Aruki slid a pawn forward, a fairly simple move, and in return, he moved one of his own. And so, the game began. Shikako had no time or desire for idle conversation as he frowned inwardly at Aruki's savage playstyle. There didn't seem to be much logic to her moves, as if she was simply picking a random piece and moving it. But after the first time Aruki had made a seemingly pointless decision to sacrifice a spear, Shikako found himself caught between losing a knight and losing a silver general. He had sacrificed his knight and never made the same mistake again. Still, there was something strange about Aruki's style of play. He had never faced someone who could read his moves so far in advance and counter them accordingly. Shikako wasn't the chief strategist for nothing. After studying Aruki's playing style for several minutes, he was able to counter some of her moves. They played for the next 4.5 hours, with neither able to gain the upper hand. But Shikako had discovered a sharp mind behind Aruki's neutral facade. A mind that intrigued him even more because every unpredictable move on the shogi board hinted at an unpredictable thought process. If there was one thing Shikako had learned since the start of the game, it was that Aruki had a very illogical mind. "You're very good," Shikako finally said, breaking the silence for the first time since they had started. Aruki's eyes rose to meet his. "I haven't beaten you." Shikaku's mouth curved into a slight smile. "Most people wouldn't tell me their abilities align with mine." Aruki shrugged without taking her head off her hand. "I'm not like most people." Shikako nodded wholeheartedly. Yes, Aruki wasn't like most people. Then maybe he shouldn't ask her questions the way he did with others. Aruki had said she was direct, and Shikako preferred that too. He left the twisted interrogations to Inoichi. Finally, Shikako moved his rook forward. "Who are you?" Aruki replied with a bishop. "I'm not really sure what you mean." Shikako raised an eyebrow. "I'll be more clear. There are two things I want to know above all else right now. What relationship do you have with Namikaze Minato, and what do you plan to do in Konoha?" He moved a pawn. To his credit, Aruki just tilted her head and moved a knight forward without taking her eyes off Shikako. "That's what you want to know above all else? Seriously?" Shikako shrugged lazily. "I could ask if you plan to harm Konoha, but that's useless. I trust the Sandame, and he trusts you explicitly. I could also ask how you managed to find Aisei in the first place, but that's even more pointless. You're obviously privy to information I'm not, and I'm not interested in uncovering something that's already over and done with. I could ask how you managed to go from Konoha to Kyumo and back again, while stopping multiple times on your way back in just 4 days when an average ninja would take 6 days to make the entire round trip. But then again, you must know some kind of jutsu I don't, and I'm not interested in that since I have no reason to go to Kyumo in the near future." Shikako propped his elbows on the edge of the wooden table, resting his head on his clasped hands as he watched the motionless redhead with piercing eyes. "Finally, I could ask why, when you entered the Nara complex, this seal activated." He slowly turned his head, his gaze fixed firmly on the Jonin as he freed a hand to push aside a curtain that was half drawn over the window next to where they had been sitting. A seal glowed a faint red on the glass. Aruki's entire face froze. Any remaining warmth disappeared as recognition briefly flickered through her cerulean eyes. "This chakra-sensing seal," Shikako explained, "was given to me by the Yondame before the Kyubi attack. It activates to pick up any demonic chakra if it gets too close to my clan grounds." Shikako watched Aruki intently for any reaction, but the redhead simply sat there, still in the same position, her eyes now focused on the seal. When it became clear Aruki wouldn't speak, Shikako sighed and rubbed his goatee before reaching out and moving one of his golden generals. "Could I ask you that?" he continued nonchalantly. "Even though the seal has captured the demon's chakra, I still can't sense anything from you. Your control over the chakra within you is sufficient. As long as you're not about to go mad and destroy the village, it's none of my business." You must move the ball. Aruki remained motionless for a few more seconds, her gaze fixed on the seal, before turning around and extending a hand to move a pawn forward. Half a dozen moves Aruki could make with that move popped into Shikaka's mind, but he dismissed them. He could stop each one if he took the pawn now. Moving his knight, he assured, "The pawn is not finished." Aruki's calm voice accompanied her next move as she moved a spear. "That seal, the center is not finished. At the moment, it can only detect QB chakra." Shikaku immediately stiffened and narrowed his eyes, realizing what the redhead had just told him. But how? The Jinchuriki of the QB is Uzumaki Naruto. "Who are you then?" he asked again, moving his tower to the left. "You look like the Yondaime. I can almost see it. Change your hair, and you'd be an almost exact copy. Long-lost brother? Cousin?" Aruki shrugged as she moved her spear again. "Maybe I look like him." Shikaku examined the board before moving a silver general and capturing another of Aruki's pawns. "Maybe, but we'll leave it for now." He eyed the redhead for a moment. "So, what are you doing in Konoha?" "You're definitely not one of my ANBU. I was the ANBU commander 8 years ago. I would have remembered sending any of my ANBU, even if the Hokage hadn't informed me. At least, I would have noticed if one was missing." Aruki finally straightened up and looked Shikaku in the eyes. "Protecting Konoha. That's what I've always tried to do." Shikaku frowned. The devotion now shining in Aruki's eyes was astounding. What attachment did she have to this village to show such dedication? The sound of a door opening and closing announced the arrival of his son. "I'm home," Shikamaru called as he entered the room. "Welcome back. How was training?" Shikaku asked, quickly pulling back the curtain and turning to look at Shikamaru. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught the strange melancholic expression that briefly crossed Aruki's face as her attention focused on his troublesome son. Shikamaru paused to look at Aruki and then at the shogi board. "You're the one training with us tomorrow. Asuma-sensei mentioned it." Shikaku blinked in surprise before turning to look at Aruki. The redhead seemed to struggle with herself before forcing a smile in Shikamaru's direction. "Yes, he invited me to train with his team tomorrow." Shikamaru nodded briefly and stepped forward as he looked back at the shogi board. "I'm Shikamaru. You'll probably find it troublesome to train with us." Aruki shrugged before standing up. "Maybe. We'll see." She turned to Shikaku and pointed at the board with her hand. "I think this game is yours, Shikaku. It was an interesting game, but I better get going. Thanks for inviting me." With a low murmur of "see you tomorrow, Shikamaru," the Jonin quickly left the Nara house, disappearing from sight without looking at either of them again. Shikaku remained in the same position for several seconds after Aruki's abrupt departure. He only moved when his son plopped down in Aruki's empty seat, waving a hand at the board to get his attention. "You were playing shogi?" Shikamaru asked. Shikaku nodded with a murmur. 5 hours. "Okay," Shikamaru said absent-mindedly, his gaze fixed on the board. "Why did she say the game was yours?" Shikaku raised an eyebrow and looked down at the board as he reached out to touch one of his silver generals. It would have given her checkmate in 3 moves. She was distracted near the end. Shikamaru frowned and scratched his head. "Yes, but if she had moved this..." His son pointed to a simple rook that stood innocently near the left side of the board. "It would have given you checkmate on the next move." Shikaku sat in frozen silence, his eyes glued to the pawn as he reviewed all the moves that had been made in the last 6 minutes and all the possible moves he could have made, or not made. The 2 pawns and knight had been mere diversions to draw the gold and silver generals, who had been protecting their king, away from their positions, and to eliminate the knight that had been blocking the forward movement of the rook, which was now trapping his king. If he moved any piece to stop the rook, it would leave Aruki's spear and golden general free to attack his king. Those 2 pieces, he realized, were the same ones Aruki had apparently moved carelessly for the last time, and the 2 pieces stopping them at that moment were the 2 generals he had moved to capture Aruki's sacrificial pieces. Instead of capturing the pieces in her path, Aruki had simply moved them to another place, letting Shikaku do the work for her. Like any novice amateur, he had fallen into the trap, so absorbed in his questions and Aruki's answers that he hadn't noticed. And now, he had lost and given her the victory. Damn her! He cursed long and hard in his head when he remembered that his son was still in the room. How dare she? He couldn't remember the last time he had lost a game, And with that thought came a wave of respect as he allowed his brief anger to leave him with a sad laugh. Aruki was an excellent shogi player. Even if she had lost, the redhead had matched him move for 5 hours. The strongest player Shikaku had faced before Aruki showed up had only lasted 3.5 hours. "Shikamaru," he called loudly as he suddenly straightened up. Shikamaru leaned back, looking slightly alarmed. "What? You have training with Aruki-san tomorrow," Shikaka said with an apprehensive glint in his eyes. "Don't let her get away. Drag her back here if you have to. I want a rematch." But his son just scoffed and stood up, stretching and walking out of the room again, no doubt to go cloud watching. As Shikamaru left, he simply replied, "Old man, if she can beat you, then the only one Aruki-san will play with tomorrow is me. I've never met anyone who can beat you in a game of shogi before. Plus, dragging her here will be too much trouble." Shikaka flinched as he watched his son leave the room. "Damn brat," he groaned, staring at the board. Then he leaned back and smiled, turning to look at the curtain that now covered only the blank glass once again. He had learned a few things today, some from his own observations, others that Aruki had willingly passed on to him. He would have to think about it some more, and in the meantime, he would need to find a way to convince Aruki to come back for another round of shogi. Very well. Next, Ino and Chuji looked at each other, and it was Chuji who spoke first. "I'll go first," he said firmly, suppressing the blush of embarrassment that threatened to rise to his cheeks. "I'm heavier. If I lose my balance, I'll need you both to catch me." I blinked, obviously surprised, but nodded. She got as close to the door as she could and looked with distaste at the guard standing beneath it. When he looked up, Chuji gulped as he stared at the floor. It seemed even farther away than a moment ago. He took a deep breath and tightened his grip on the scarf around his hand. He had come so far. There had been many times during the afternoon when he had wanted to give up, but Shikamaru hadn't. He wouldn't have bitten his ear off, and he had thought that eventually he would stumble and fall, and that would be the end of this strange mission. But that eventually never came. He would stumble and slip, but in the end, he always managed to hold himself back with his chakra. After trying a little harder, he finally reached the last hurdle of this mission. "Hey, Chuji, come on." Shikamaru's voice was heard from the other side of the door. "If you slip, we'll catch you." A finger tapped him on the shoulder, and he blinked and looked at Ino. "You can do it, Chuji," she smiled at him. Chuji smiled back and thought about it. Honestly, he couldn't remember a time when she hadn't cheered him on. He also couldn't remember his teammate looking so sweaty from training and not seeming to care. He took another deep breath and straightened up. He had come so far. Failing now would just be stupid. Aruki had been the one to give him this mission. If the Hokage didn't think he could do it, he would have stopped him already. He paused for a moment at that thought. Thinking about it, he remembered that Aruki had never looked at him like he couldn't. During the tree-walking exercise, the Jonin had just smiled at him and nodded at his progress. Chuji had ended up reaching the top before Ino, who was generally better when they trained. Chuji stood up straighter, frowning in determination before taking a deep breath and letting his eyes fall. They squeezed shut instinctively as he struggled to keep the chakra in his feet. He felt his left foot slip, and panic immediately took hold of him. His arm shot out to grab something. Two hands grabbed his own, and over the roar of panic in his head, he heard the voices of his teammates yelling at him. "Chuji, stop kicking. Calm down and focus." His left foot slammed into a flat surface and sent a surge of chakra downwards, upwards as a part of his mind said, somewhat distantly. And suddenly, he was hanging upside down as if he was back in the forest hanging from a branch. "Man, that was too close," Chuji muttered as he slowly opened his eyes and met Shikamaru's gaze. He stared back at him for a moment before letting out a weak laugh. There was really nothing funny to laugh at, but the sound made Shikamaru smile and caused Ino to laugh a little, amused by the situation, but above all, relieved. "Come on, get up," ordered Shikamaru, extending a hand to help him up. Muffled footsteps were heard before a bundle was handed to them. It had long since stopped moving, and Chuji hoped, though not very enthusiastically, that the cat was still alive. He didn't want it to die, of course, but it didn't seem like he could feel much compassion for it. At that moment, Chuji placed the cat under one arm, before crawling to the other side of the door with his other free hand to catch Ino in case she slipped. "Ready?" Shikamaru sighed and leaned forward. Ready, let's go. Ino grimaced, looking at the ground before gathering all the courage she had left. She had two teammates on the other side ready to catch her if she fell, and as lazy and greedy as they could be, they had always listened to her. Maybe it was time to listen to them, even if it was just a little. Come on, don't worry. We'll catch you, Shikamaru said. Ino snorted. They didn't need to say it as if she was sure to fall. Come on, woman, don't bother. We're here, she frowned. She wasn't troublesome, stupid Shikamaru, but it's okay. I'm coming. She stared at the ground, defying gravity to pull her down, and then closed her eyes. For a split second during her free fall, she seriously considered cutting her hair as soon as she got home. The extra weight wasn't doing her any favors and only served to throw her off balance as she swung downwards. Her arms flailed, trying to grab the air as she fought the pull and downward momentum. Suddenly, hands wrapped around her feet, and she found herself hanging only by her ankles for a brief moment as her concentration faltered. Then sense came back to her, and she circulated her chakra back to her feet, not taking a breath until she found herself firmly trapped on top of the door, almost laughing as her heart pounded in her chest. I reached out a shaking hand, which was immediately grabbed by Shikamaru, and she was lifted up to the other side, still a little unsteady but slowly rejoicing as she realized they had succeeded. That was an impressive display of chakra control. A soft voice made the three of them freeze. They were in the Hokage's office. The Hokage's office. What would actually mean the Hokage would be here? Their heads suddenly turned and looked with growing fear at the Sandame standing a few feet in front of them. Yes, they are amazing, the Sandame said, his voice filled with pride. The three of them automatically looked down and were met with a familiar blue gaze with a proud gleam reflecting off them. Yuruki pointed at the ground. Get down. You did great. Shikamaru was the first to move, almost jumping away from the wall before sinking to the ground, sitting down with a thud, apparently choosing to ignore the Sandame's presence for the moment. Chuji was next. He jumped up and wobbled a bit, but held out the cat in the Hokage's direction. The Sandame chuckled and accepted the bundle, uncovering his jacket just enough for one ear to be exposed, wiggling in irritation. Chuji sighed and dropped down next to Shikamaru, his shoulders slumped in exhaustion. Ino jumped up almost immediately after, her legs buckling as she dropped down next to Shikamaru. Mission accomplished, she said. Now she just wanted to sleep until the cows came home. A hand on her shoulder made her stiffen and look around. She blinked in surprise, seeing her father. How had she forgotten he was there? Otusen? Shikamaru and Chuji also looked around. Otusen, they said in unison. Shikaku and Chuza walked into the office, smiling at their respective sons. Asuma walked in behind them, shaking his head with a mix of pride and disbelief. It was a great workout, Shikaka commented, crouching down next to Shikamaru. Chuza nodded and put an arm around Chuji's shoulders. I can't believe you all just came into the office. The Hokage chuckled and moved to place Tora in a small cage next to his desk before returning with Chuji's jacket. I'll make sure Tora has been delivered back to Daimyo's wife. And of course, this mission has been completed. I'll have your pay ready for you when you come back tomorrow morning. The three of them groaned at the same time. They didn't even want to think about tomorrow. The foreign laughter made them look up as Yuruki stood in front of them with his hands hidden in his pockets again as he crouched down in front of them. Good job, he smiled softly at them, and despite their tiredness, they found themselves listening to him. It was amazing teamwork between the three of you. He paused before turning to Shikamaru first. Shikamaru-kun, good job on detecting Tora's chakra signature. There aren't many people your age who can track chakra as well as you, and you'll only get better as you practice more. Your chakra regulation is excellent. While I was chasing the cat, you were able to shift from one surface to the next with barely any pause. Just work on your stamina. The only reason you didn't do that move now was because you were tired. The shift with your right foot was flawless. Shikamaru blushed and straightened up at the praise, nodding determinedly. It's okay, Yuruki-sama. Thanks. Yuruki nodded before turning her attention to Shikamaru. The Nara heir stared back at her grumpily and scratched an eyebrow. Maybe let's leave that game of shogi for another day, Shikamaru-kun. Shikamaru frowned. You knew we'd fall dead standing up or on our backs. That's why you promised me. Yuruki smiled naturally. I told you I'd do it whenever you want. Don't worry. I'll play with you whenever you want. I don't break my promises. Shikamaru snorted and dropped onto his father's knee. Well, what do I have to work on? Yuruki bowed his head thoughtfully. Great stamina, especially for someone who would like nothing more than to laze around all day. Good strategic thinking, although you could have thought of a plan sooner. I know you could have. He gave the boy a wry look before continuing. Your cage main no jutsu could use some work. I'm no expert on your clan's techniques, but your aim won't always stay in one place for a long period of time. You need to increase your speed. Your father can probably give you some advice. The redhead glanced briefly at Shikaku, who felt it was only at this point that Yuruki realized he had the entire room's attention. Clearing his throat uncomfortably, he ignored them and turned to Shikamaru. Other than that, there wasn't much else that I saw today that you should pay special attention to. However, I suggest you eat more. He reached out to gently circle one of Shikamaru's wrists with his index finger and thumb. You're kind of skinny, and I bet you're exhausted right now. Having good stamina doesn't necessarily mean you'll still have energy after you slow down. Shikamaru blinked and looked at his own wrist before nodding. He supposed eating more would probably be a good idea, and he knew his shadow technique was slow. Maybe he could practice catching leaves first. It would be easier to work with lighter objects. He didn't notice the veiled shock on his father's face as he accepted the redhead's advice. Thanks, Yuruki-sama. Yuruki smiled again before turning to Ino. Well, your chakra control has improved quite a bit since this morning. Ino smiled tiredly. My legs are dead. Yuruki chuckled. Your stamina also needs some work, but you have excellent speed. When you were running on flat surfaces without having to turn a corner, even if you were just jumping from one building to another, you didn't have to slow down at all. However, unlike Chujikuin, you need to work on regulating your chakra. I think that's the biggest problem you'll have with chakra control. Walking on water will be a challenge. He didn't pout before perking up in hopes. You'll be back to train us for that? Chuji also straightened up, and even Shikamaru looked at him intently. Yuruki raised an eyebrow. Do you want me to come back? Asuma has been convinced all afternoon that he will curse me at the end of the day. Asuma laughed, coughing and walking over to Yuruki. Chuji looked at Asuma with a slightly furrowed brow. I don't care if Yuruki-sama comes back. Asuma scratched his head. Seriously, after all the swear words I heard today, I thought from now on I'll boycott the training sessions. Chuji seemed a little nervous but shook his head. No, anyway, it was hard. Very hard. But he looked at Shikamaru and Ino, who had matching smiles on their faces, exultant and proud. We did it. I mean, how many other Genin teams can say they learned chakra control and beat Yuruki-sama's mission in just one day? Asuma laughed at that. I don't think anyone has ever been through Yuruki's mission before. Yuruki shrugged in response as he stood back up to his full height. Just doing the rank-up mission is boring for you. I know Shikamaru complains that less is less trouble for us, but it helped. Shikamaru blinked, then sighed resignedly. Yes, but it was still troublesome. It is troublesome, but in the long run, it is worth it. Many things in life are like that, Shikamaru-kun. Yuruki took a step back and looked absent-mindedly towards the window. The Shikaku of his time had told him that once, and he had never forgotten it. When checking the position of the sun in the sky, he didn't see Shikaku's surprised look. But you will train with us again, right? Ino insisted. Next time, you can come earlier so that I can show you my family's flower shop. A bright, childish, and innocent smile. One that Yuruki hadn't seen on Ino's face in a long time. We even have Solidago, although most people don't want them. Yuruki smiled and looked at Asuma. Well, if Asuma doesn't mind, I'll be back next week. Asuma nodded. If you have a few free hours, come back whenever you want. He smiled. I had a lot of fun today. He was immediately given 3 glares. You didn't do anything, Ino protested. Asuma stood up with a look of mocking indignation as he waved a hand at Yuruki. That's not true. Those 2 made me their food delivery boy today. The 2 aforementioned shinobi shared an amused look. He was a good food delivery boy, Yuruki commented. I agree. Inoichi nodded sadly. He did it too fast. Asuma frowned at them both while his students were laughing. It was fun watching them mess with their sensei. A soft clearing of the throat made everyone look around. Everyone straightened up or stood up in the case of the genin when their attention was fixed on the Sandame. "I'm sorry, old man." Yuruki apologized timidly, not seeing the surprised looks that were behind him. "I made all this part of your training. I already imagined it." He jumped and watched them with an amused air. It was rare that the older generation of Hokage was so relaxed in the company of others nowadays, even when they were together. "But I have to complete some paperwork. So, are you done here?" He looked significantly towards the door. All the adults bowed or nodded hurriedly before ushering the genin towards the door. He jumped down and looked into Yuruki's eyes briefly, nodding as Yuruki glanced into his private office with a nod in return. Yuruki turned and left as well, closing the door behind him. "I don't care how tired you are. Eat a full dinner before you go to sleep. Do you understand?" Much to the amusement of their parents, the three students nodded obediently as Yuruki lectured them. Their eyes seemed to focus on Shikamaru when he finished, and the Nara heir rolled his eyes but nodded once more to show his agreement. "Okay, I guess that's all for today. Unless Asuma has something to add," Yuruki said, looking at the real sensei of Team 10. Asuma just shrugged good-naturedly. "There's nothing to add," he said with a wry smile. "Yuruki has explained everything. We'll meet for training tomorrow at 10, as usual." Immediately, groans filled the air. "But sensei," protested Ino, "we're exhausted. I've never worked so hard in my entire life." Choji complained, rubbing his thigh. "Give us a break, Asuma-sensei, we're dying," Shikamaru announced. Asuma crossed his arms. "No way. 10 is already quite late. I have to get up early to help my mom set up the tent." "10 isn't late," he said firmly, not even blinking. Yuruki shook his head and bent down to whisper something in the blonde's ear. Ino's eyes widened, and a cheerful light appeared in them. "Asuma," she yelled before looking at Asuma. "Asuma-sensei, please give us an extra hour to sleep tomorrow." Asuma shook his head. "I already told you no." He fell silent when he saw the big blue eyes looking at him with tears. "Oh, ___." He didn't notice the puppy dog look intensifying. Asuma stared at her for a moment longer and then folded like wet paper. "Okay, see you at 11. Ino clapped while Choji and Shikamaru made fun of him, but didn't complain. "Great, that works." Asuma smiled at the red-headed Jounin. "Thanks, Yuruki." Yuruki chuckled, ignoring the dirty look Asuma gave him. "Just don't use it too often, or it might lose its effect," he warned. Ino nodded enthusiastically as Inoichi sighed behind her. He had a feeling that look would come back to bite him sooner or later. He shot a glare at Shikaku when the man nudged him with a smirk. "See you later," Yuruki said, nodding to the six of them in general. He and Asuma were going down the same path. Several good mornings and nights later, the two Jounin were heading down a street away from the Hokage Tower. The setting sun cast a red-orange glow over everything. Asuma had quickly lit a cigarette as soon as the two groups had gone their separate ways. He hadn't smoked all day, and it had been getting on his nerves. Yuruki didn't seem to mind, and they walked in companionable silence as they made their way back to their homes. "Actually, there's another reason why I invited you today," Asuma admitted suddenly. He wasn't sure how to phrase his question, so he thought it would be good to start with a confession. Beating around the bush never helped. "You're welcome," Yuruki said, looking at him with some curiosity. She had taken off the rubber band that held her hair, and the crimson locks were hanging over her shoulders again. "The Sandame is my father," she started, but continued without detecting any surprise. "We had dinner together a while ago. We don't usually do that. I mean, we're not on the best of terms at the moment." She paused, waiting for the exclamation of surprise that usually followed this revelation. After all, who wouldn't want to have a good relationship with the Hokage? But he wasn't that surprised when he didn't receive it. "He invited me to dinner, and there really wasn't any problem," Asuma said, turning to look at the redhead. "He said he took your advice into account." "What did you tell him, Yuruki?" Yuruki was silent for a while, staring from the house to the tree and then to the store. "It was nothing special," he said finally. "I just told him that while he can have his own opinion on something, he should also try to understand the same topic from someone else's point of view." He paused for a second before a small smile lifted to his lips. "Listening to someone is easy. Understanding is much harder. The trick is to find the key. Some people use words, and that works while others trade blows." His smile grew a little wider. And that works too. But either way, you still have to really look and listen to understand. Asuma frowned a little. He wasn't sure he had fully understood what a rookie wanted to say, but he thought he could do it with some time. His father had pushed him to talk about some aspects of his life, and the man had listened attentively the whole time, clinging to each of his words as if they were important. But why? This was what had bothered him the most. In reality, it didn't surprise him that a rookie already knew about his family connection with the Sandaime. The redhead always seemed to know more than he let on, but he didn't understand why the other Jounin was trying so hard to pressure his stubborn father into action for something that really didn't affect a rookie in the slightest. "Why did you say all that to my father, a rookie?" Asuma asked. A rookie fell silent again for a long moment, and Asuma started to think that the Jounin wouldn't answer. When they reached the end of the street, a rookie smiled sadly, melancholic and tired at the same time. "My parents died when I was a baby," a rookie said, not looking at him. He simply looked ahead with the glow of the sunset in his eyes, turning them almost purple. "I never got a chance to say goodbye to any of my godparents before they too died." His gaze turned amethyst and finally met Asuma's. "I guess I told him that because I think family is important. I think if I ever had a family, even if I got into the mother of all arguments with them, I would still want to do everything I could to reconcile with them." Asuma couldn't even blink if he wanted to, as a rookie's gaze seemed to deepen for a second. Because you never know when that chance will be lost. Then you'll be left with nothing but regrets. And I guess that's the saddest thing of all. Knowing what you could have had and knowing what you should have done, but not having any way to fix it. Asuma stood still and silent, not knowing what to say as that mesmerizing gaze finally drifted away, and the redhead seemed to sink deeper into his coat as a gust of wind blew past. "Well," a rookie continued in a much lighter tone, "I'm leaving this way. See you around, Asuma. Good night." "Good night," Asuma repeated, the cigarette hanging absent-mindedly from his right hand as he watched a rookie disappear down the street, her crimson hair like a beacon of fire. He didn't move until a rookie was completely out of sight. The other Jounin's words still echoed in his head. And then he turned and began walking back to the Hokage Tower. He wondered what his father would think about the conversation he had heard. That night, Yakai Koku had a discount. Nei-chan was shocked when Sue blinked in disbelief. Her own daughter, who was almost as protective of dogs and the secrets of their clan as she was, had sold her specially developed food to someone Tsum had never heard of. "Who was that guy?" Tsum asked. "We told him to wait for us in the park near the academy," Kiba continued, walking even faster. "Hurry up." 5 minutes later, they entered the park, and Kiba pointed excitedly. "There he is. It's the Kakin." Sue glanced sideways at the red-haired shinobi. His back was turned, so she couldn't see his face, but she was sure it had been a long time since she had seen a ninja with that hair color. "Do you know him?" Shibi murmured in a low voice, looking to his side. Shibi shook his head carefully, his eyes fixed on the shinobi on the other side of the playground. A few moments later, Shibi felt his Kakachu stir. He frowned. They recognized the stranger to a certain extent. He asked for clarification, but his insects didn't seem willing to answer. Shibi only managed to capture distant whispers that didn't make much sense. "Descendant. Know him. Strong. Very strong. Stronger than the previous sad. Very sad. Sacrifice. Alone. Always alone. Lost forever. Danger. Help him. Help him. Help him." Shibi quickly cut the connection with the accelerated mind. Although the Kakachu only lived for a few hours, they had the ability to transmit knowledge to subsequent generations, retaining a long memory of the people they had come into contact with, even decades later. Surprisingly, they could also sense a shinobi's chakra, as well as anything they had come into contact with, and pick up on their emotional state to a certain extent. This was a useful skill in judging the condition of an enemy shinobi in a fight. But Shibi had never met anyone who could cause such a strong reaction in his insects. Obviously, this stranger, a rookie, reminded them of someone their previous generations had met before. But Shibi didn't know any ninja with this stranger's last name, and his Kakachu, which normally simply informed him of how they were trained, openly insisted on providing assistance, as if they felt something was of sufficient importance that using this shinobi was for the best. The Kakachu didn't live long, no matter how helpful they were to the Aburan clan. They didn't care much if their host died or not, and vice versa. Once their chakra supply was cut off, death was literally a part of life for them, and they had no complicated feelings about it, unlike humans. But that meant something was going to happen, something big enough that even the Kakachu were worried. Shibi, what's wrong with you? Some asked at his side with a penetrating look. Shibi shrugged a little, trying to calm down again. My insects recognize him, to a certain extent. He looked at her again, his expression unreadable. I don't perceive bad intentions from him. Your insects. Shibi remained silent for a moment before slowly answering. They seemed to have concern for him. Some stared. Sometimes they like to worry, she muttered. Shibi's frown deepened. Something has them worried. Some tensed, and her hand automatically slid to her hip pocket. Is it this guy? Why? I've never seen him before. I don't care how long he's been on a mission. I've never seen him before. Shibi stared at her. They aren't worried about him. Some stood up and dropped her hand to her side. What? Why? Shibi shook his head. I don't know. Before any of them could say anything else, the stranger they had been talking about turned to look at them. Both immediately ran down memory lane as a bright, cerulean gaze left them in place. Shibi muttered without looking away from the blue-eyed stranger. It's just me. This guy, he reminds me of the Yondaime. Sum finished grimly. She would never forget the eyes of her old friend. Minato always seemed to be able to look straight into a person's soul with them. And even from this distance, Shibi had the exact same feeling from this shinobi. Are you both okay? Kiba asked, blinking in confusion. Even Shino had raised an eyebrow with a questioning expression. We're fine, brats, Sum told them with energy. Now, are you going to introduce us or not? We don't have all day. Aruki-san, sorry for making you wait. Aruki smiled at the two boys from Team 8 as they approached. Don't worry about it. I didn't wait long. How are you today? Are you still tired from yesterday? Kiba smiled at him. I've recovered, and Akamaru's fully recovered too. Akamaru barked and jumped off Kiba's head, settling into the arms that automatically came out to catch him. He liked this person. Aruki smelled of sunlight and summer and always gave him treats. Every time Akamaru snuggled up to him, some of the loneliness he could feel disappeared too. He hoped his human would visit this man more often. Kiba seemed less angry and more relaxed since he met Aruki. Akamaru would have to do everything he could to reward him. Aruki sighed as the white pup settled into his arms. Kiba-kun, I think something's wrong with Akamaru. He keeps doing this. Kiba smirked even wider, showing his sharp fangs. He just likes you, so you better get used to it. He's going to do that a lot. Aruki sighed again and turned to Shino. And how are you, Shino-kun? How's that new jutsu going? Shino nodded once. I'm fine. The jutsu is hard. I'm still working on it, but I've improved the distance to 5 meters since I started making chakra threads. That's a lot harder to do. Aruki nodded, not missing the small but sharp shake of Shibi's head. Keep it up. When you can spread them out with all your fingers at the same time, I'll teach you how to place them on objects so you can move them. Shino nodded in response silently again, but there was a hint of a smile peeking out from behind his collar. Aruki smiled back, amused, as he looked at the younger version of his friend. Finally, he looked at the two adults still standing several steps away. And these are your parents, then? Ah, yes, Kiba said, running back to his mother. What was wrong with her today? Normally, he didn't have to drag her anywhere. Maybe she was tired from her mission. This is my mother, Sum Kaken. This is Aruki-san. Sum stepped forward, her eyes half closed as she looked at the redhead. Aruki just smiled at her and nodded in greeting. Hello, Sum-san. Kiba has spoken of you. He appreciates honesty, no matter how harsh, and hates sugary words and traitors more than anything else. He's impatient, short-tempered, and pretty scary when he lectures Kiba-kun, but your son says it's okay because he knows you love him anyway. Kiba stammered, looking embarrassed and indignant. Aruki-san? Aruki smiled innocently at him. Yes, you said that, Kiba-kun. You're not supposed to repeat it to him. Kiba yelled, his face red, while Sum suddenly laughed and put an arm around his shoulders. Sum couldn't help but stare in amazement as Aruki told her directly to her face what he had heard. Of course, it sounded like her son, but she didn't really expect the Jounin to repeat it word for word. Most people looked at her and cringed. Aruki looked at her without the slightest apprehension. Upon hearing the end of Kiba's story about her, she couldn't help but burst out laughing as a wave of affection welled up inside her. She wasn't expecting that last part. "Okay," she said to the redhead as she straightened up and offered a sharp smile. "I heard you've been teaching them." Aruki shrugged. "Just for a day. Karina invited me." Kiba smiled proudly. "It was really hard, but we finally made it." Aruki blinked and looked at Shibi as if suddenly remembering his presence before walking over to nudge his teammate. "Hey, Shino introductions." Shino got too mad the day before, yet it was fresh in his mind. He turned a little towards his father. "Otusin, this is Aruki-san." "Aruki-san, my father, Aburame Shibi." Aruki's greeting towards him was as free as the one he gave Tsum. Shibi nodded briefly, noticing how the Jounin's gaze seemed to go through his sunglasses and go straight to his eyes. He wanted to ask more, something very out of the ordinary for him. But he wanted to know why his Kakachu perceived such a confusion of emotions when all Shibi could see at that moment was a warm smile and a cheerful face. "Good. We would like to talk more, but we have not informed the Hokage yet," Tsum said energetically, with one hand on Kiba's hood. "Maybe later, Aruki." Aruki nodded quickly. "I'll have to inform them before summoning everyone tomorrow, of course. I won't stay." He stiffened and looked to the right, as did Shibi and Tsum. The children looked confused, and Akamaru raised his head, sniffing the air with a questioning expression. "Ah." Aruki rubbed the back of his neck. "I guess it would be rude to run away right now." Tsum looked at him with curiosity. "Running away? It's just Shikaku. The man isn't that bad." "Okay, he could be a little calmer, but it could be worse." Aruki let out another sigh and shoved his hands into his coat pockets. "Mom, that's not it. He's been looking for me for the past 3 days. If I didn't know better, Aruki would say that you've been avoiding me." The sarcasm was intense in the Jounin commander's voice. Aruki grimaced inwardly as he turned to look at the Nara leader. "Good evening, Shikaka." Shikaka looked at him menacingly, torn between wanting to wring the redhead's neck for forcing him to endure so many troublesome hours and congratulating him for avoiding it. He also knew Hanbu that they couldn't hide from him, which only served to further pique his curiosity. "You are a hard man to track down, Aruki," he finally said, frowning irritably at the redhead. Aruki tried to smile like Kakashi, and his lips curved upwards without regret. "Ma, I didn't want to play another round of shogi." As soon as Shikaku sighed, he looked at the clan heads who had returned and who were behind the stranger. "Shibi, Tsum, it's good to see you all back." He frowned again as he looked at Aruki. "We need an update soon. We need to head to the Hokage Tower. Sandame-sama is waiting for us." Both shinobi heard the weight of his voice and nodded quickly. "I'll see you at home, Kiba," Tsum said, ruffling her son's hair before nodding to the others and walking away. Shibi patted his son on the shoulder before following his old teammate. He would ask Shino about Aruki when he got home, and he would also ask him about the chakra threads. "Okay, see you later, Aruki-san," Kiba said, waving as Akamaru jumped on his head again. The dog barked as well, looking almost expectant. Aruki chuckled and reached into his pocket to pull out a small bag of dog treats. "One. That's all." Akamaru grabbed the treat and wagged his tail vigorously as his best friend laughed beneath him. Aruki was quickly becoming one of his humans' favorites. "See you tomorrow, Kiba-kun, Shino-kun," Aruki said, looking up at the darkening sky. "Go straight home, okay? It's getting late." Both boys nodded before heading towards their respective compounds. It helped that their houses were so close to each other. Aruki watched them go before turning cautiously to Shikaku. The man had watched the entire exchange in silence, content to wait for Aruki to leave. Then Aruki began, hunched a little in his coat. "Do you want a part game?" "Agreed," Shikaka said. "For the moment, what I want most is to understand you." Aruki looked at him dryly. "You would make a terrible interrogator." Shikaka shrugged easily and gestured for Aruki to join him as he walked away from the park. "That is why I left that job to Inoichi and Ibiki." They now walked in a quiet silence for a while, despite Shikaka's desire to discover his secret. Aruki was almost completely relaxed in the company of this man. The head of the Nara clan would not be so different in the future. Always a firm and solid presence that Aruki had learned to trust. Of course, there would be no dependence here, but that didn't mean he couldn't feel comfortable around Commander Shikaku. Inoichi is worried about you, Shikaka began again, glancing sideways at the redhead. Aruki nodded. I heard him. I don't know why. Shikaka wanted to ask him if he had looked in the mirror lately, but he bit his tongue. It hasn't been to Yamanaka Flowers either, he said instead. Aruki shrugged. Inoichi is one of your best friends. He wouldn't have let me go until you came along. Would that be such a bad thing? Shikaku asked dryly. I simply have a theory I wish to confirm. Aruki scoffed automatically, equal parts amused and nostalgic. Of course, since you have a theory, a Nara without theories is a dead Nara. A slightly forced silence followed as Aruki blinked at the strange look on Shikaku's face. Be careful with your words, Aruki, Shikaka said at last. And Aruki frowned a little as a late alarm bell rang in the back of his mind. You have a disturbing tendency to repeat things you shouldn't know. Aruki frowned a little deeper and repeated his words in his head. A Nara without theories is a dead Nara. He had heard that from Shikamaru, but it wasn't something his chief strategist would have said as a child. This time Shikaku shouldn't have said it yet. My wife told me that once, Shikaku revealed in a low voice, his face half hidden in the shadows as they passed under an alcove. Before Shikamaru was born, as a joke, of course, he tilted his head in a mocking and contemplative manner. But I could swear you'd never met Yoshino before. Aruki continued walking, refusing to acknowledge Shikaku's slight smile and cursing him. Send SAS to someone who isn't a stranger, Nara. No. Aruki clenched his fists inside his coat. How the hell had their conversation deteriorated to this point so quickly? There were times when he hated this side of Shikaku, the ruthless and uncompromising shinobi who excelled at continuously attacking his target even after they were completely cornered with no way out. What was worse was that Shikaka handled stability as if it were a piece in a shogi game. Seemingly careless, seemingly effortless, and completely destructive. In the future, Shikaku had passed this skill on to his son, and during the few times any of them had used it against him carelessly, Aruki had been more than frustrated. He had spent his entire childhood always running, and he knew the pain and fear of being surrounded with no way out. That's why, when he had to kill, he almost always made sure to do it as quickly as possible. If someone was going to die anyway, the terror that set in if a death took too long was unnecessary. They were ninjas, not psychopaths. Although he had seen the two together more than once in his life, at that moment, Aruki was in front of a friend, someone for whom he would gladly die, and the man was playing with him. Maybe he would have to retract his earlier statement. Shikaka might give him a beating, and Inoichi when he behaved like that. I made you mad, Shikaka's sudden remark, calm and with a hint of apology, brought Aruki out of his thoughts but not out of his anger. Of course, he replied sharply in a low, somber tone, not bothering to hide his fury, and even after all this time, a minimal amount of panic was roaring in his chest. Either get to the point or you're lost, Shikaku. Don't turn that on me. Shikaku almost took a step back at the tangle of emotions that made Aruki's eyes shine. He had overstepped his boundaries. Occasionally, it happened when he was angry or when he realized something interesting that kept him busy for more than a couple of days. The habit had slowly improved after Inoichi had taken him aside one day years ago, after he had reduced a fellow shinobi to a quivering pile of fear for insulting Yoshino, and had warned him of the consequences of what he could do so easily. You're smart, Shikaku, Inoichi had told him with his attentive blue eyes, and that brain of yours is as lethal as any weapon. But you have to be careful. If you say the wrong thing too many times, you could destroy someone's mind. I don't care if you do it to an enemy ninja, but be careful when it comes to allies. You could seriously hurt them. And there he was doing exactly the same thing Inoichi had warned him not to do, to someone Shikaka knew was not in the best mental state at that moment. I apologize, he said quickly, automatically raising his hands in a placating gesture as his bright cerulean eyes narrowed. It's a bad habit. I didn't mean to attack you like that. Aruki studied the Jonin commander for a moment longer, struggling to suppress his emotions. He took a deep breath, slowly exhaling along with his anger, then immediately wished he hadn't. Now that he was no longer angry, the heavy tiredness from before seemed to return in full force, settling on his shoulders like a dead weight once again. What do you want, Shikaku? Aruki suppressed the urge to close his eyes. God, he wanted to go back to his apartment and rest, maybe even risk getting a few hours of sleep. Shikaku remained silent for a long moment. Part of him wanted to just leave and call it a night. It was obvious he had ruined the entire conversation. But a bigger part of him, the shinobi side, the strategist side, the Nara side, wanted to know, are you going to ask for another match of shogi? Shikaku finally said, choosing his words carefully, just to verify some things. But I'm pretty sure I've already figured it out, so I won't. All I want now is confirmation. This time, Aruki closed her eyes and sighed deeply before opening them again. What exactly do you know now? You have the QB sealed inside you, Shikaka began after making sure Aruki really wanted to know. You have Namake's Minato's eyes, and your face is a bit like his. I thought he was his brother or cousin, but I forgot to consider his wife. You have her smile, and mostly her facial structure. So, I'm inclined to believe your hair color is an anomaly, and you've hidden the whisker marks on your face because it can only be one person. But that should be impossible, because Uzumaki Naruto is just a child. And I know they don't grow like that. You have the ear of the Hokage. You repeat words you shouldn't know. You move through the Nara complex like it's a second home. Shikaka paused for a moment, watching the shadows creep into those sad eyes again before finishing softly. And apparently, you look at my son and see someone else, someone he can't stand to look at. The light that was left in Aruki's eyes faded, and Shikaku almost wanted to take back every word when a dead glare stared at him. But he had come so far. He had said so much, and he needed to push because if he was right, and he knew he was, then Aruki needed help. There was no way he could do everything alone, no matter how strong he was. With that, he continued, his voice serious and barely more than a murmur. A person from two different times. You are Uzumaki Naruto from the future, a different timeline, from a world beyond repair. So, you came back to change things. Shikaka stared at him as his dull blue eyes closed. Am I right, Aruki? Aruki didn't answer him directly. He just opened his eyes and turned to look out at a surprisingly empty street. The sunlight was almost gone, and most of the people had gone home. Bodies and ashes, he said finally. Aruki and Shikaku held back a shudder at the raw, anguished expression that finally appeared on the redhead's face. Can you imagine Konoha reduced to nothing but bodies and ashes? And everyone dead. All babies, children, civilians, shinobi, all missing. He turned around. Can you imagine, Shikaku? Because, oddly enough, until I saw it myself, I couldn't imagine it either. It won't happen, Shikaka said, surprised to hear how rough his voice had become. But he continued anyway, looking at the time traveler in the eyes. We will not allow it. Aruki smiled humorlessly. Wait. Shikaku frowned severely at him. I don't know what kind of person I will become in the future. I can only speak for myself in the present. I know what is happening now. Don't think I will let you handle this on your own, especially if Konoha is at stake. The Sandaime has told Inoichi that he cannot help himself, that we should just leave you alone. I will not lie, and I will not promise you that everything will be okay. After everything you have been through, maybe you'll never fully recover. I don't know. But the Hokage is wrong to leave everything to you. At least we can try. Aruki stared at him, his expression twisted in a way that Shikaka couldn't decipher. You are exactly the same, the redhead finally muttered, hunching his shoulders a little. You wouldn't leave Minato and Shikamaru alone either in the future. He looked up, and a morbid smile drew on the corners of his lips. That got you killed, Shikaku. Shikaka didn't blink. I'll be more careful this time. Aruki snorted, but Shikaku felt something loosen in his gut as some of the dead expression disappeared from the Jonin's face, and the blue eyes became a little more alive again. I won't tell you everything, Aruki said at last. I may not even tell you half of it. Shikaku shrugged, shoving his hands into his coat as he walked forward, incredibly glad that Aruki didn't walk away from him. It's fine, as long as you warn me of something that's about to happen, so we can prevent it. I won't push it any further, he added as an afterthought. Aruki let out a sound that was half laugh, half sigh, but his shoulders relaxed, and he walked quite willingly alongside Shikaku as they strolled aimlessly down the street again. You called my son Shika, Shikaku remembered. They were good friends then? Aruki smiled a little more sincerely this time. More like brothers. I named him my chief strategist. And another chief strategist anyway. I kept you in office until, well, Shikaka nodded thoughtfully and wondered absent-mindedly how he had died. Rokudame Hokage, I suppose? Aruki nodded but didn't elaborate, and Shikaka didn't ask. Instead, he said, I haven't had a drink in 3 days because of you. Let's go to Shuhai. You can tell me who knows what during dinner. Aruki suppressed a smile as he nodded and followed the head of the Nara clan to the popular restaurant. It was strange. He had thought it would complicate things and more people would find out. He had thought that maybe Shikaka would insist on knowing everything right away. But the man had never at any time rushed to do things without thinking them through first. And the Naras were always smart enough to know when to give in to someone else when they weren't as knowledgeable in the area. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad. So, the Sandaime knew, but the Hokage could hardly sit all day listening to stories of another time if they weren't relevant to any immediate danger. And even though Aruki knew that he didn't feel comfortable trusting someone he had never met in any timeline, Shikaka was someone he was familiar with. Even if this was a younger version of him, Aruki had properly met the Nara chief when he was 15, so a couple of years wouldn't make much of a difference. And Shikaka was patient, a good listener, and an excellent advisor. He had been a rock of strength for Aruki until the day he died. So maybe depending on this man in this timeline was something he could do after all. Plus, it didn't seem like Shikaka was going to give him much of a choice anyway. Shikaka let out a sigh of relief, exhaustion evident as he sat on the wooden porch and bent down to remove his sandals. What a night! Yuga Susi was the only person besides the Sandaime who knew the truth. It was no wonder Aruki looked so tired all the time. He doubted the brother of the Yuga clan head would have been much help. The Yuga were an emotionally stunted bunch, and even if Siasi was better than the rest, Shikaka doubted the man would ever put in the effort to care for an emotional mess like Aruki. Shikaka suppressed a yawn before looking up and smiling at his wife. Sorry I'm late, Yoshino. I got caught up in some business. Yoshino could certainly smell the alcohol on him, but Shikaka had always marveled at her ability to discern when he was giving a half-baked excuse and when he was serious, even when he delivered both in the same tone. His wife simply nodded before sitting down next to him, leaning into him as he wrapped an arm around her waist. You imagine him reduced to nothing but bodies and ashes. Already all dead, babies, children, civilians, shinobi, all missing. You can imagine Shikaka because, oddly enough, until I saw it myself, I couldn't imagine it either. His arm tightened slightly around Yoshino, and his other arm suddenly felt empty without his son by his side. No, he couldn't imagine it. He couldn't see him at all. And God, he hoped he never would. He had always known that true Kage were a rare breed of shinobi, set apart from the rest of the population. But he had often wondered what made them different. Physical and mental strength, of course, but it couldn't just be that. Charisma and a genuine desire to protect the village and its people. But Shikaka had also seen many shinobi like that. So maybe that was what he had seen in Aruki that night. The will and resolve to never give up, to sacrifice not others but himself to protect what was important, to keep going even after everything had been destroyed, to put the people who followed him above everything else. The Shodaime had been killed in the many battles of the first great shinobi war, but not before passing on his will of fire to the next generations of Konoha. The Nidaime had also sacrificed himself to give Konoha a future in Sarutobi Rasen. The Sandaime had lost 2 teachers, a student, a wife, a successor, and many shinobi in the Third War. And yet he had returned to take up the mantle and keep the village going. And the Yondaime had, of course, sacrificed himself and 2 members of his family to ensure Konoha's survival from Kurama. But his old friend would be disgusted with the very village he had protected if he ever saw his son's abysmal childhood. Shikaka, you're okay? His wife's worried voice made him blink, and he managed to muster a small smile for her. Of course I'm fine. It's just that I have a lot on my mind. More theories, Shikaka. Her soft joke warmed his heart. He would do anything to keep this in his life. Well, you already know us. Shikaka smiled a little, repeating her words even as he remembered their previous conversation. Naras without theory are dead Naras. Yoshino snorted in exasperation, but her mouth curved into a smile. Don't think too much. You'll get wrinkles on your forehead if you do. She leaned against him again, and Shikaka turned to look at the moon. Now they had a chance. Aruki had returned to the past, 14 years ago, and Shikaka would be damned if the same thing happened again. Another day passed without further incident, and Konoha continued with its activities as usual. But that same afternoon, 21 messenger birds were sent out, and 21 people received the urgent summons from the Hokage to a meeting. Dinner cutlery was put aside, books were closed, training equipment was stored away, and shinobi from all over Konoha headed to the Hokage Tower. Shadow Link Jutsu, Chapter 8. The Hokage couldn't have called us earlier or something. Or tomorrow. Kurenai was having dinner and patted her furious friend, Anko, on the shoulder. She wouldn't have called us right now if it weren't important. Anko rolled her eyes, but settled for sulking as they approached the Hokage Tower. She had bumped into Gunma outside the tower, and after realizing they had both been summoned, but having no idea why, they went up together. As they entered the office, they blinked in surprise at the sight of other shinobi gathered in the room. A bunch of chairs were lined up neatly. Yugao, Hate, Anko, Kurenai, and the others made their way over to the small group gathered to the side. And you four idiots too? What's going on? Accustomed to Anko's personality, everyone took the insult, which was more affectionate than anything, in stride and greeted the two kunoichi with nods. I'm not sure, replied Hate, sitting astride a wooden chair with his arms resting on the back. We all arrived just a few minutes ago. Kurenai frowned and studied the Kenjutsu expert closely. For once, his shoulders were completely relaxed. Hate, you look better today. Much better. Something happened. Hate smiled openly at her. Oh, well, it really shows. I just left the hospital a few hours ago, and I still haven't seen anyone. Kurenai looked around, feeling completely lost. Guys, what's going on? Anko spoke again, waving an excited hand in Hayate's direction. Don't you realize, Kurenai? Hayate's heel. Kurenai froze in her chair, stunned, as she looked from face to face, all smiling widely at her. You were serious? In turns, Genma and Reidu explained the events of the previous day to her as Kurenai took them in with wide eyes. Then, smiling herself in delight, she congratulated Hate enthusiastically. She wasn't as close to Hate or the others as Anko, but she still considered them friends and was grateful to whoever had managed to pull something like that out of nowhere. Everyone seems happy. What's the occasion? Everyone turned to see Asuma walk in, followed closely by Guy. The story repeated itself again with no less feeling, and Asuma smiled and patted the Kenjutsu specialist on the back before sitting down next to Kurenai. Meanwhile, Guy practically bounced in his chair, proclaiming the wonders of youth. This continued for several seconds before Anko shut him up with a well-placed threat to his manhood. Does anyone know what's going on? Kotetsu asked when everyone finally calmed down. Asuma shrugged. I got a message to head to the Hokage's office, but nothing more than that. That's what happened to the rest of us. Yugao nodded, leaning back in her chair. I wonder what the Hokage wants. Suddenly, Gema straightened up and stared over their heads. I guess it has something to do with what a rookie said the other day. Take a look. Everyone turned around and quickly straightened in their seats as the heads of the Konoha clans walked in. Yuga and Sussy walked next to their brother, and Inuka walked next to their mother. They all briefly looked around the office before silently taking a seat on the left side of the room. Anna exchanged a few more words with the Inuzuka clan head before standing up and heading over to them. And Chan, is this about the meeting with Kyumo? Kotetsu asked immediately as she took a seat with them. At their amused nod, they exchanged a glance, bewildered. So, what the hell are we doing here? We're Chunin. Anna shook her head. I'm not sure of the details. My mother just mentioned a summit conference with Kumobikure, but I also received the Hokage summons. So here I am. The footsteps at the door made them turn for the third time, and the entire room stood up as the Hokage entered, followed by the ANBU general and the second ANBU a few steps behind. The Hokage moved to the front of the room, while the ANBU general stopped near the back, a few feet away, with his arms crossed, looking as imposing as ever. The two masked shinobi sat similarly to the right behind the clan heads. Please sit down, the Hokage called from the front, sitting himself behind his desk. This will take a while. Thank you for coming on such short notice. Everyone sat back down, their attention focused completely on Sarutobi. The Hokage looked around before letting out a sigh of resignation. It seems we're still waiting for two more. He paused before looking at Hade. I heard the good news, Hade. Congratulations on your recovery. Hade bowed his head respectfully. Thank you, Hokage-sama. At his side, Anko chimed in. Hokage-sama, do you know who gave the cure to the doctors? Now everyone was focused on that exchange, even as Sarutobi bowed his head. Yes, but I think we both know he doesn't wish to be identified. Anko frowned and crossed her arms. Come on, Hokage-sama. Even a clue would be, leave it, Anko. Genma interrupted from his seat, the senbon sticking out of his mouth as always. Whoever it is doesn't want to be known. The violet-haired Kunoichi turned her head to look suspiciously at the bearer of the senbon. From the other side of Hade, Yugao spoke with obvious interest in her voice. You know who it is, Genma? Genma shrugged. Just suspicions, Anko. Nothing concrete. Well then, let's hear it, Anko immediately demanded. The Tokubetsu Jounin grunted indifferently. I only have suspicions, Anko. Nothing concrete. And anyway, no, you wouldn't be right. Reidu observed dryly. I know my friend. If Genma's being secretive on purpose, no amount of probing will get anything out of him. Genma spun the senbon around his mouth and proceeded to ignore the dark looks Anko sent his way. Some of the clan heads had obvious interest on their faces, but none of them had time to ask their own questions before two muffled but slowly approaching voices drew their attention to one of the office windows. Even you know where I live alone. The Hokage knows where I live. I used to be a spy. I'm pretty good at finding out. Do you have any idea what this will do to my reputation? I'm going to give the Hokage a heart attack. I doubt the old man will faint just because you were a few minutes late. Now stop complaining. We're here already. A moment later, two shadowy figures landed on the windowsill, silver and crimson glowing against the evening sky in the light of the Hokage's office. Hey, old man. A rookie jumped inside, absent-mindedly putting his coat back in its place as Kakashi followed him. Sorry for being late. The whole room stared, speechless, for several seconds. Kakashi and a rookie exchanged a look, then turned to stare at the Hokage. It's not that surprising, is it? A rookie finally said, exasperated. He's still a few minutes late. Kakashi jumped up and was the first to speak, laughing as he stood up. It's true about a rookie, but it's never happened before. A rookie just smiled a little, pushing the copy ninja forward. Kakashi looked as bored as ever, but there was a satisfied gleam in his eye as he looked at the shocked shinobi in the room. How the hell did you do that? Kurenai asked, her shocked expression evident. Normally, we'd have to wait at least an hour before Kakashi would show up. A rookie shrugged and walked further into the office, looking at Kakashi and tilting her head towards the chairs without saying a word. Kakashi walked over and sat at the end, next to Asuma. I just want to pick him up. No one's thought of doing that. Can't prevent a meeting if someone makes sure he gets there on time. No one knows where he lives, Genma pointed out, but a rookie caught an unnerving look in the senbon wielder's eyes, as if he was thinking of something completely different as he studied the redhead. Ah, well, he lives, a rookie. The warning came from the copy ninja, and a rookie sighed and shrugged apologetically. Sorry, I can't say it again. The rest of the room watched them with something akin to incredulous fascination, and a rookie frowned a bit before looking back at the Hokage. Sarutobi just shook his head before walking around the desk and standing next to a rookie. All right, let's get this meeting started. I'm sure you all realize we're here to discuss the summit conference with Kumobikure. However, before we get started on that, some of you still need to know the actual details of what brought us to this point in the first place. He gestured to the man standing next to him. As most, if not all of you know, this is Jounin a rookie. He's the one responsible for bringing Yuga Yasi back. The next 10 minutes were spent giving a semi-detailed explanation of the circumstances surrounding the Yuga clan head's brother, while a rookie stood stock-still under the sharp gazes of the other shinobi, his features blank. When Sarutobi finished, there were varying expressions on the faces of the room's occupants. The Yasi clan heads already knew, but the other half of the room didn't, and now they looked at a rookie with everything from reflection to astonishment. So that's why. It seems like no one knows you, Kotetsu inquired. You haven't been back in 8 years. A rookie tilted his head, ignoring the part of his mind that scolded him for lying. It was necessary, and he didn't have time to let his conscience get the better of him at that moment. That's incredible, Yugao commented, respect evident in her words. You managed to corner Kumo in less than 2 weeks, and they won't even be able to accuse us of anything. Yes, agreed Saratobi. Which brings us to the point of this meeting. The conference with Kumo will consist of myself, a rookie, and we've drawn up a list of those who will accompany me. The clan heads are 7, and Yasi will be 8. There was a general round of nods from the right side of the room. Yugao and Hei will also be coming. A slight surprise crossed Hayate's face, but he nodded a moment after Yugao bowed her head. Asuma. Asuma blinked slightly in surprise, but straightened up and nodded without pause. And Kakashi. The copy ninja acknowledged this with a single nod. Though his visible eye slid to the red-haired jounin for a brief moment, calculating behind the lazy demeanor. The rest of you will remain in Konoha on standby in case Kumo tries anything while I'm gone, Saratobi continued before gesturing to a rookie again. One of the things we'll be asking Kumo for is something a rookie and I came up with. I'll let him explain. A rookie nodded and took a step forward, calming with relative ease the slight apprehension he felt in his stomach. He had long since grown accustomed to speaking in front of crowds. Well, she began, noticing the attentiveness in each shinobi's expression. I'm sure you all know Uzumaki Naruto. There were murmurs in the room before Anko spoke. He's the demon brat. No. The kunoichi cut herself off abruptly as cerulean eyes froze and fixed her with an icy stare from her right. Kakashi's typical lazy drawl was no longer so lazy. There was a slight edge of steel underlying his voice as he spoke. Anko, that brat is my student. It was strange, thought a part of Anko's mind. The Sharingan user was almost famous for his carefreeness and his cold blood in any situation, often showing nothing but disinterest in everything that wasn't directly related to the immediate safety of Konoha. The man had a hard time caring about anything on a good day, and yet there he was, defending one of his students for something Anko hadn't even meant as an insult. She wondered if a rookie had anything to do with this change. Isn't that what I meant? She snapped, especially to Kakashi, because a rookie wasn't even frowning, and she could already feel the chill running down her spine. She almost felt sorry for any poor fool who would piss him off enough to take the full brunt of that glare. No, I don't have anything against the kid. I can tell a kid from a demon. Anko sighed in relief when Kakashi relaxed enough to smile at her with his eyes, almost as if apologizing. She gave him an irritated look before turning back to a rookie to check his expression. The cold look had disappeared and had been replaced by her typically neutral expression. And what's wrong with him then? She asked, unable to avoid a grimace appearing on her face. A rookie had the decency to look apologetic for a brief moment, and Anko calmed down with a snort. Well then, a rookie continued, looking around the room. As you know, Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. But right now, all you know is why this village hates him so much. His cerulean eyes darkened to indigo as he spoke. He doesn't understand the power of the Kyuubi. He doesn't even realize how strong he can become if he learns to work together with the fox. Wait. Asuma sat up straight, something akin to alarm flashing on his face. We don't want Naruto to use that demon fox's power. Why would we? No, a rookie replied immediately, and several in the office noticed the way his shoulders squared, as if he was preparing for battle. The Kyuubi's chakra is just another source of strength. One can use it. The Loja have their Sharingan, the Yuga have their Bakugan, the Aborez have their Kiku, and the Inuka have their dogs. Naruto and Kurama are no different. Working together, they could become incredibly strong. Kurama frowned in confusion as the name Ki was mentioned. A rookie answered briefly, leaving half the room perplexed. If Naruto can work together with the fox, his power will increase even more, and Konoha will become much stronger. The Kyuubi tried to destroy Konoha 12 years ago. Some interrupted seriously, narrowing his eyes. I have nothing against that brat. My own son is his friend, but who knows what that monster would do if it could influence the boy. A rookie opened his mouth before closing it again, mentally calming Kurama as growls echoed in his mind. They don't know yet, he reminded the fox. Then tell them. This is degrading, Kurama replied. Okay, a rookie said aloud, glancing sideways at Hokage. I think I'll have to go further back and tell you something older. Do you remember what I said about who was really behind the Kyuubi attack? Saratobi nodded thoughtfully, his gaze sweeping over the room. They had told him about the true mastermind behind several disasters that had struck Konoha, but he suspected Aruki was still hiding something. However, the former Hokage hadn't said more on the subject, so Sarutobi didn't press. He trusted Aruki would reveal it when necessary. "You'll need to tell them, but this is classified. None of this leaves this room," Aruki said firmly. There was a round of nods as the Chunin exchanged uncertain glances. Why were they even here? They wouldn't divulge anything they heard today, but it was rare for someone below the rank of Jounin to be privy to such top-secret information. "Okay," Aruki nodded decisively. "How many of you know who Uchiha Madara is?" Several sharp intakes of breath followed as the clan heads stared at each other. Shikaka kept his gaze fixed on the red-haired Jounin. He had already heard about the events of the Kyuubi attack from Aruki during a recent dinner. Uchiha Madara was the leader of the Uchiha clan during the Shodame's reign. He helped found Konoha, but ultimately betrayed it. He and the Shodame fought at the Valley of the End, and Madara died in battle, or so we thought, Aruki explained, watching the surprise on several faces. Some, however, looked pensive, as if they had suspected this all along. Uchiha Madara survived that battle. Barely. And he's still around today. Needless to say, Konoha is not his favorite village. His Sharingan has the ability to control Kurama and use it in battle. It was Madara who forced Kurama to attack Konoha all those years ago. It wasn't Kurama's choice. By the time the Yondaime stopped Madara's influence, Kurama was already too enraged to stop. Aruki continued, absent-mindedly twisting the senbon in his mouth. Shikaka looked wryly at his friends, who seemed almost catatonic with shock. He wasn't much better. Whatever he had expected from today's meeting, it wasn't this. He had imagined something like, "We'll meet Kyumo, prepare your teams, and leave at dawn." Judging by the expressions of the other clan heads, they hadn't expected this either. He turned to the front of the room, cocking his head to look at the red-haired Jounin standing calmly next to the Hokage. Surely an infiltration mission in Kyumo, no matter how long, wouldn't result in the discovery of something this monumental. So how did Aruki know? He wanted to ask but bit his tongue. There was something strange about Aruki's background, and he wasn't sure if his questions would put him in a difficult position. Before he could dwell on it further, some spoke up. "Wait, you got all this from an infiltration mission in Kyumo?" she demanded, frowning. Shikaku suddenly gave her a sharp look. "That means they know these things too?" she added. No, Aruki shook his head. "I'm good at finding things out, and I did some research while I was away." Tsum wasn't satisfied, but Shikaka spoke before she could probe further. "Focus, Tsum. The main point is that we need to keep an eye on Uchiha Madara. But what do the Kyuubi and Naruto have to do with the conference with Kyumo?" Aruki nodded. The Kyuubi isn't just a mindless beast. It has its own thoughts and, in its right mind, would only attack places where human malice has festered. Its ability is to detect negative emotions. If Naruto makes contact with Kurama, the fox could be convinced to work with him. If that happens, someone will need to teach Naruto how to handle the chakra of a Biju. That's where Kyumo comes in. Aruki unrolled 2 scrolls, showing depictions of 2 shinobi. This one, he held up the first scroll, is the adoptive brother of the Raikage, Killer Bee. He's powerful enough to be Anbu level and is known as the guardian of Kyumobikure. He's also the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi. Ignoring the gasps of surprise, Aruki raised the second scroll. This is Ni Yujito, a Jounin-level kunoichi, a skilled strategist, and one of the Raikage's most trusted people. She's the Jinchuriki of the Nibi. Aruki paused, scanning the room. 2 Jinchurikis, Kurenai finally said in a weak voice. "We've never heard of this before." Aruki shrugged. Kyumo doesn't go around proclaiming it to the world, though they don't exactly hide it either. Neither of them uses their Biju's chakra in every fight. They're strong on their own. One of them could train Naruto in the first steps of contacting Kurama. Inoichi leaned forward. "Are you saying they can fully control their Bijus?" Aruki nodded. "Very well. Both are skilled at working as a team with their Bijus." A crooked, mirthless smile crossed his face. "They're 2 of Kyumo's most prized shinobi, the pride of their village. We could say the same for Konoha if Naruto and Kurama worked together." The room fell silent as the clan heads processed this. Shikaku was the first to speak. I agree with this plan. If Naruto can harness the Kyuubi's power, it would benefit Konoha and perhaps even change people's opinions of him. He's loyal to this village, but having almost the entire population against him is a disservice to him and to us. Not to mention, it's embarrassing to treat the boy so poorly when he's holding the Kyuubi for us. Whether we like it or not, the fox could one day be released from its seal. I'd rather have it on our side than against us. Thoughtful murmurs filled the room as a rookie gave Shikaku a discreet look of gratitude. The Nara clan head returned the look calmly, tilting his head in a tiny nod. He admit what he said 2 nights ago. He wouldn't leave the time traveler to his fate anymore, though he would have to take a rookie aside later and get all the details before sharing them with anyone else. If that's the case, I agree with Shikaku, Inoichi said, nodding toward a rookie. I'd rather fight alongside Kurama than against him if it comes to that. And the boy deserves a break from the villagers' harsh treatment. Maybe if they see he can work with the Kyuubi, they'll be more accepting. Chuza wasn't far behind. Konoha would be much stronger with a Biju on our side, and Naruto would benefit as well. Near the back, Yamanaka twins exchanged glances. Yasuo raised a questioning eyebrow at his brother, Isao, who simply smiled and nodded. It seems like a good plan, Yasuo said quietly. Working with Naruto and the Kyuubi would be of great benefit to Konoha. Some listened to the other clan heads before turning to Shibi. What do you think? Shibi glanced at her, his expression unreadable. I agree. This plan is sensible and advantageous for Konoha. Some nodded, suppressing a sigh. If even Shibi agreed, she would support it. But there was something more important here. Something a rookie wasn't saying. We're in agreement, some said clearly. But I'd like to get a general idea of each candidate before deciding who to choose. A rookie nodded, mentally letting out a sigh of relief. Sum and Shibi had been his biggest concerns. He hadn't interacted with them much in this timeline and wasn't sure if his plan would be enough to put their suspicions to rest. Great, a rookie said, turning to Kakashi. We'll need to come to an agreement with Kyumo. In this case, Kakashi will have the final say in Naruto's training. The copy ninja raised an eyebrow, his gaze briefly flickering to the Hokage before focusing on a rookie. Whoever trains Naruto will have to do it while I'm there, Kakashi said calmly. And my other 2 students will need to know about Naruto's circumstances. A rookie nodded. Of course, but whether or not you tell them about the Kyuubi is up to Naruto. He should decide. Kakashi agreed, and the meeting moved forward. He should be the one to decide whether or not they should know. Kakashi nodded his head in agreement. That sounds good. I'll talk to him after the conference. A rookie nodded again. His younger counterpart would probably want his classmates to know, since he was there, but he was sure both Sakura and Sasuke would take it in stride. All right, let's move on, a rookie said, turning to the crowd at large. I'll give you all an overview of Killer Bee first. He pulled out a small pamphlet he had prepared a few hours earlier, filled with everything he could remember about the allies and enemies from his previous life. Killer Bee is very proud of his own power. So, the first thing to remember during the summit is not to insult Gyuki, as Naruto sometimes does. Killer Bee can be quite arrogant and stubborn, especially when it comes to his strength. He demands respect from others and insists on being called Jinchuriki-sama, while Gyuki should be called Gyuki-sama. A rookie paused and looked up at the room. The group seemed to be in a unified state of disbelief, holding back laughter. He continued with his summary. He has a special way of expressing his pride through rap. Specifically, he raps during fights or even in the middle of important meetings, even if the rhymes aren't good, which is usually the case. So, brace yourselves. A rookie looked up again. The disbelief had turned into the beginnings of traumatized disbelief. Kakashi glanced between the pamphlet a rookie was reading and Guy, the taijutsu specialist, who seemed completely unfazed by Killer Bee's description. Meanwhile, Kurenai was still trying not to laugh. A rookie went back to his report. Bee doesn't respect anyone who makes fun of his rap lyrics. So, in other words, don't laugh at him, insult him, or do anything that might offend him. If you want to make a deal to bring him back to Konoha for his battle skills, keep in mind that he's not the type to collaborate on strategies with others. He often completes missions assigned to both him and his brother without the Raikage knowledge. The only person he listens to is the Raikage, as he's the only one capable of keeping him under control. However, B recognizes talent when he sees it and respects those who possess it. A good example is his fellow Kyumo Jinchuriki, Yujito Ni. He admires her for her skills. Aruki took a breath before continuing. B has a very close relationship with his older brother. In fact, the reason he became a Jinchuriki in the first place was for the Raikage's sake. He doesn't complain and is always cheerful and determined, much like Naruto. However, he can be impulsive. If someone close to him is in danger, he won't hesitate to put himself at risk to save them. In terms of skills, B is proficient in taijutsu, kinjutsu, and can channel lightning nature chakra through his swords to enhance their cutting power. Aruki paused for a moment. He was very familiar with B's abilities, but wasn't entirely sure if they had reached the level he remembered. Never underestimate his skill with right-on techniques, he added. He's a monster with them. He scanned his notes. B has full control over his Biju, and is the only Jinchuriki alive who can maintain his full Biju form indefinitely. Aruki hesitated briefly before clarifying. Although, when I say control, it's more like a partnership. B and Gyuki are companions, which makes them even stronger in battle. Anyway, B is also kind and compassionate, so he'd probably be a good teacher for Naruto if we decide to go with him. Aruki looked up once more, studying the room for reactions. Most seemed a little stunned by the rundown of Killer B's abilities. Surprisingly, it was Kakashi who spoke first. Basically, Kakashi said in an oddly neutral tone, "This Killer B, with his rapping and all, is the might guy of Kyumogakure." It wasn't a question, but Aruki thought about it for a moment before nodding cautiously. "I guess so. In terms of eccentricities, yeah," Aruki replied. Kakashi raised a hand, his expression unreadable. "I don't care who it is. I vote for Yujito." This set off an immediate chain reaction. Beside him, Kurenai and Guy also raised their hands, shouting in unison, "We support Yujito too." Yugao, Hei, Kotetsu, Izumo, Anko, Rado, and Genma's hands went up as well. There was a pause. Guy looked slightly offended. "I think Killer B is extremely talented," he announced to Kakashi's visible annoyance. "I wouldn't mind if he joined Konoha. Wouldn't you agree, Kurenai?" Kurenai sighed. "What do the clan heads think?" Inoichi chuckled but turned to Aruki. "Let's hear about Yujito first." Aruki nodded and flipped through his notes. "Right. Yujito Ni is a hard-working, proud, wise, and brave kunoichi. I've heard she's steadfast and determined in battle and considerate of her teammates. She's younger than Killer B, but as I mentioned earlier, he admires her for her skills. She's a decent strategist and excels in close-range combat, thanks to her ability to grow her fingernails and toenails into claws. She uses fire-based techniques very efficiently and can transform into the Nibi while retaining her mind. Although she doesn't have full control over Matatabi, she can regulate the amount of chakra she uses during transformation." Aruki closed the book and examined the room. "Obviously, I don't have as much information on her as I do on Killer B, but from what I could gather, she seems like a good candidate. She's versatile and disciplined, which might be better for Naruto." Chikaka nodded. "Killer B is strong, but he seems more offensive. Yujito appears to be the better option." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the group of clan heads as the Hokage looked at Aruki. "Who do you think we should choose?" Aruki shrugged, keeping his voice low. "It doesn't really matter to me. Naruto would probably clash with Killer B at first, but then again he clashes with most new people. Yujito is quieter, though." Aruki's eyes glazed over slightly as memories of Yujito surfaced. He frowned, a bit worried. "You two were friends?" someone asked. Aruki shifted and shrugged again. "Allies, friends, we got along well. She saved my life." His mouth twitched. "She was a good person, though she drove me crazy sometimes. She was reckless, always jumping in front of danger." He broke off, his shoulders slumping. "She died to save me," he finished quietly. No one said anything. There was nothing to say. It was no one's fault. Ninjas often died to save their comrades. But there would always be a part of the survivor that carried the guilt. "We've come to an agreement on Yujito Ni," Chikaku announced. "She seems more disciplined than Killer B, which would probably be better for Naruto." Aruki nodded. "All right, I'm done." The Hokage stepped forward. "The summit conference will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the forested area on the outskirts of Yugikure. Those attending should be at the village gates by 5 a.m. Those not attending should be in position by the same time. He paused, and the occupants of the office took this as their cue to leave. The Hokage continued, I'll also need a surveillance patrol to go ahead of the main group. Volunteers! Aruki immediately stepped forward. He didn't know how he'd react when he saw B or Yujito again, and it was better to face them alone first. The Hokage nodded. Choose someone to accompany you, Aruki, but not a clan head. Aruki's gaze instinctively went to Kakashi before the Hokage even finished speaking. Kakashi's visible eye seemed to glint with satisfaction. Well, Aruki asked, more irritably than he intended. Kakashi seemed to ponder the request before smiling and extending his hand. Aruki understood instantly and frowned. No. Kakashi didn't seem concerned and lowered his hand. Then I guess you don't have much of a choice. Aruki scoffed, crossing his arms. This is blackmail. Kakashi snorted. Funny coming from you. You've been doing the same thing for days. Sacrifice is good for the soul, Aruki retorted. I could say the same, Kakashi replied cheerfully. The two ninjas stared each other down as the rest of the room watched, waiting to see who would give in. Finally, Aruki sighed, and Kakashi's expression turned triumphant. Fine, Aruki said, pulling out an orange book from his jacket. But if you take this or any other volume out during the summit, I'll show you just how creative my seals can be. Kakashi nodded reluctantly. Deal. I'll even leave it at home. He happily put away his precious Aika book before turning to the Hokage. So, Aruki and I are going exploring tomorrow. When should we leave? The Hokage shook his head, half amused, half exasperated. Since when did Kakashi act so childish? Be at the gates by 4:30 a.m. You'll leave half an hour earlier than a main group. Report back before we reach our destination. Kakashi and Aruki bowed their heads, and the meeting came to an end. Most of the attendees walked out the door, casting sly glances back as Kakashi and Aruki headed to the window and leapt into the night. Finally lost it, muttered Anko, shaking her head. He's more relaxed now, not as distant, corrected Kurenai. I'm glad he found someone to relate to. Anko rolled her eyes. Yeah, and the next thing you know, he'll be handing out candy to civilian kids. What is the world coming to?